What's up, everybody? This is NorbCam coming at you. Take two. Since the first time we went, it didn't quite work. We had some issues, but those have been resolved. And we are back for this week's edition of Coach's Corner, where we're going to look back on this victory over the Washington football team with the coach, Coach Marsh, and find out how exactly did they manage to do it. This game was huge, obviously, because with that win, we not only clinched a playoff berth, but we also, thanks to the Jets beating the Rams in that miracle game, sets up nicely for that game next week against the Rams for everything. The NFC West on the line. We can clinch the West crown with a victory over the Rams on Sunday. So we got so much at stake right here. It's awesome. It sets up nicely. So we're going to bring Coach Marsh in just a minute. So before I do, I just want to remind everybody, please, if you're so kind, smash that like button, hit the subscribe button, add that notification bell, and that way you will never miss a single episode in the future. So here we go. Hopefully you guys can not only see him, but hear him. Welcome back, Coach Marsh. Great to have you on another episode of Coach's Corner, man.
Hey, love it. And, there's nothing wrong with doing a little restart and kicking over again. So, those things happen, but super excited to be here. Like I said earlier, this is the best part of the year, right? We got the holidays, we have New Year's coming up, playoffs are coming up for the 8th time in 9 years. So lots of neat things that are happening and love the open, man. I mean, it's so awesome to have something kind of specially made. I feel like it's kind of a personal piece for me, even though it's made for everybody that's out there. So I appreciate all the effort you've put into that to continue to make me feel like I'm an enhanced part of the NorbCam and NorbFAM party that's happening here.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that was specially made for you. And yes, I was working on that till about 5 a.m. this morning. And I swear, when I was working on it, I was out of body experience because it was so late. I was just in that zone where it's just like my body took over and I didn't remember what I did. I woke up, I was like, oh, what did I make? Oh yeah, that's pretty cool. So,
You've always been a night owl, man. The thing, it's crazy about you. I'm the early guy, and I remember when we do those videos before, you'd call me just as you're getting ready to go to bed, and I was just getting up, getting ready to head out, and I went all night long doing this and that. So some things never change, man.
Yes. And somebody just pointed out, again, being out of body, because of this restart, the title of the show actually says, how can we beat Washington? So it's hey, we all have a false start. We all have a penalty once in a while, but, we're going to drop back 10 and punt and do this again. So I'm just typing this up as we go. How did the Seahawks beat the Washington? We're going to find out. Washington football team. Here we go. Find out with Coach Marsh.
See, even we make mistakes. I mean, we could sit here and talk about Coach Carroll and the coordinators and all those things, but we're all privy to making those mistakes because we're all human. But the bottom line is, once we get going and get into the plays and into the questions and everything else, no one will remember a couple of miscues because they're just little offside penalties. Restart might have been a little bit more of a personal foul type of deal, but we're okay. We'll move past it.
Everyone's saying the title's wrong. The title's wrong. We're fixed it all. At least fixed it in my end. We'll see when it shows up on that side. So the important thing is strong. The important thing is, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. All right, so we're gonna this is where I get to hand the baton off to you, and I get to be a spectator and basically just watch what you do. So and by the way, you're wondering if why this Big 12 is here. I'm always trying to find new ways to enhance the show. Usually, enhancements include audio where you can actually hear the coach talking. We've got that all worked out. But if you guys do submit a super chat, this light, hey, look at that, on command, this light will light up to let me know. And in that case, Chef Jack Attack says, I'm back. So our little 12-year-old Chef Jack Attack is back in the house. And like I said, if you do a super chat, the 12 will light up and let everybody and myself know that that's what's going on. All right, so thank you for the super chat. Appreciate it. And let's go, man. The show and the floor is yours.
All right. Well, super excited based on the win. And I think it's always important to remember that, a win is a win, right? So it doesn't matter how we get to it, especially on the road, as a coach, there's times we get on the bus, but teams get on the plane and you think, man, it just didn't feel like a win or what have you. And then there's times where it's like, man, at least we got the win, right? I'd rather win the game and not look good doing it than lose a game and feel like, we played great and did all this stuff and just couldn't pull it out. So, man, I'm so amped and excited that we're in this position and excited to show you the plays. So we're going to start with a defensive play, and then we'll go for a few offensive plays because I know a lot of people were wondering, based on some stuff I talked about before the show in our preview last week, how we were going to stop 99, right? How are we going to keep that Chase Young kid from getting to us? So I'll get to that, and then Norb, I'll let you kind of decide when we want to make some calls here after a few plays. So you ready, Norb?
I'm ready. And yeah, just as a reminder, while you get that game set up, we are taking calls on the Discord. So if you want to chat and ask a question of Coach Marsh, you got to join the Discord, jump in on the stream, the voice stream, the voice chat stream, and you can talk to Coach Marsh when we get to the calls. So let's jump into it. Yes, can't wait to find out how did we neutralize Chase Young and that formidable front four.
All right, so before we get to that, there's going to be two plays I'm going to show first. One's going to be probably the best defensive play of the game, in my opinion, and then another one, an offensive score that we'll talk about. So first one on defense here, again, it has to do with our guy Adams, right? I mean, the guy is just a freak of nature. It's fun to have a player like this that every game you just know he's going to do some spectacular stuff. He might get lost out there at times, but you gotta uncage the guy. You gotta let him do his thing. So what we're going to see here, and I'm going to let it play once. Those are the news of the show. I usually let the play run once, and then I come back and I break down something, or I try to educate or coach a little bit on something based on background, experience, and people that I know. So usually I just like to watch the play, kind of see what develops, see what you see. When it happens in the game, the tight film angle, you don't get to necessarily see where Adams comes from. So we're going to take it back to the beginning. And what we're going to see here is that he's sitting out here in a middle section. So he's camped out on this side of the ball. And what I love about him is there's so many plays where he's a clinic when it comes to how to take proper angles. And we've talked about this many weeks on the ways and the directions you need to go when you see a player that's breaking out and where you need to get to beat them to the spot. Well, what we're going to see here is as they're dropping back to make their pass, Adams is sitting there in kind of a no man's land area. He's just a rover out there. He can spy, he can go wherever he needs to go, and he can break on it. And this is what I love about him as a player, that he has the freedom. Coach Carroll and Coach Norton have given him the flexibility and the freedom to see things and just be active and try to make something happen. So as the play develops, there's a breakdown. We actually have really good coverage, if you notice back here in the secondary. And this, I would argue this is one of the best games that our secondary has played with regards to coverage, including our middle linebacker covering the middle of the field. We're covered there. And now that the quarterback scrambled off to his left, I'm not worried about this guy anymore. But what I love is you're going to see as he's moving out here to the outside, quarterback's going to be going here, scrambling here, and he's a great athlete. He may not throw the football very well, based on 55 attempts for under 300 yards, but we've got a guy that knows how to take angles. So I'm going to play it at regular speed, and then we'll come back to it again. Just watch Adams as he starts to just aggressively go after him from the spot where he decides to make the point of attack. Right now, his feet are level, which is a great position to be in. We always say we want to be in a lateral position, not in a position where our numbers are turned sideways, sans the guys that are back here having to turn and run for things. But up here, you want your numbers to be square to see the ball. Here we go. Let's see what Adams does on this play. From this side of the field, look at the angle. Great high knees, angle, beats him to the spot, boom. I mean, that's a heck of a play from a guy that's starting all the way back on this side of the field. Again, as we watch the play develop, we get great pressure up front with a five-man rush. It caves on him quickly. And one thing we talked about last week was that Haskins is not very good when it comes to deep drops, where they were starting to beat us later in the game. And when he was at his best, are one step, get rid of it. One step, get rid of it. Early on, they tried a lot of these deeper drops and such. He just struggles, and I think their O-line struggles with it. But to see Adams come forward, notice that he's scrambling out this direction, and all of a sudden take just a phenomenal angle. And what I love not only about the angle that he's taken, but we're not getting lost back here, right? We got coverage, and yes, someone may be getting behind, but we have a DB that's camped underneath there. This DB, the toughest part for this DB is he has to decide, am I going to go up and make the play against a running quarterback, right? If this is Alex Smith, not worried about it. Or do I drop back here? This guy, do I go over here? Is it a scramble? So you still have to maintain your responsibilities back there. But here's the best thing, Norb. You don't have to worry about it when you got number 33 making these type of plays, right? Yeah. And again, angles. Last thing I'll say on this, angle, right? He's taking an angle here. Oh, sorry, wrong piece there. You can see with my cursor. If he was to miss the tackle, we're still in a great position for another player to come at this angle here to make a play. And by the time he crosses the line of scrimmage, we have him here. So that nice triangulation is what's taking place, which I love. So let's take a real quick peek at it from the backside here. And Norb, feel free if anybody's asking questions in the commentary or anything like that. Again, always want to credit the front, the interior, because you build a team inside out and front to back. And I haven't said that on previous episodes, but real important to know that as a coaching staff, when you're building teams, high school, youth, college, even the NFL, you want to build them inside out and front to back. So if you think about our middle linebacker, the safeties we've had, the guys up front, going back to even a Cortez Kennedy, right? Offensively, our quarterback, right? Our running back, and Maraj, like you're always trying to build it inside out, front to back. So you're looking to see how well is our interior playing compared to their interior. So great drive and pass rush here. He has nowhere to go, right? We have everything covered now. Great job escaping, but man, watch our guy. This is where you really get to see his speed. Just going to let it play full through. Again, steps up in the pocket, gets out of there. Adams comes up and boom, there he goes. Love it. And look how well we have it covered now on the backside, right? Up top side here. We're in good shape. Covered over the top, covered behind, covered in front. Outstanding work by our guys. So that's the first one, Norb, on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, I love that. You know, one thing Jamal Adams is so good at is just when it comes to tackling behind the line of scrimmage and getting those angles as you talked about. He's so good at getting there, and then once he's there, he wraps up and it's like there's no escaping him. He's just solid.
He's special, man. He's special, and I'm sure we'll talk about it more on another show this week. But if anybody saw his press conference afterwards, I mean, just to see the joy in a player who's never experienced the playoffs, knows the caliber of a player that he is. But we've taken it for granted here, right? That's why we get upset at get rid of Coach Carroll. And you may have lost me for a second somewhere unplugged.
We still hear you. That's all right.
Okay, you got me. No video's going to come on. So we get ourselves in a position where we get a guy like that, and all of a sudden he's super excited to be a part of what's happening, right? So it's phenomenal to see him go through, the experience, the joy, all those type of things. So I'm going to go ahead and go to the next play.
Okay, and your video's view's not back, but we can just go to the to the
so
camera.
I'm going to go right to the next play.
Yep.
I'm going to go right to the next play, and we'll see what we get here. So what we have here is now we're going to talk about the touchdown run that we had, which was fantastic. So as we go through this play, we're going to let it run the one time through so you can see it. Apologize to the cursor stuck on there. So great running play. We see the run as it's happening. And he just does a phenomenal job getting in the end zone. And that's what everybody sees, right? Nobody's seeing the linemen or all those other groups. So now we're taking back. And here's a little bit of how we started to protect, at the beginning of our protection scheme, how we're going to set it up. And basically what's going to happen is we're going to motion and see what happens with Young. How does he adjust to it? So a lot of times early in the game, you'll do some sort of a commercial so that you can figure out, what is it that a team is going to do to try to defend you? How are they going to keep you from, doing the protection scheme that you're trying to get? So when we made that,
thank you.
There we go. When we make that motion, Young does not move to the outside. So what we're checking to see is when we get across in the motion, he actually adjusted inside. So now we know, and remember this, when we went in the motion, coaches up above are seeing that Chase Young, the stud that we have to block, a lot of times guys they don't want to be outflanked, meaning he wants to make sure that he keeps his outside arm free, and he might adjust outside to this player that's coming across. But instead, he actually starts to align inside. Boom. See how I shifted inside a little bit? Now we know for future plays when we're passing. But this is a running play. And here's our guy Hollister, man. He's quickly becoming my favorite player on this team because it's similar to that little kind of counter reversal. We've run this a couple times with great success. And the last few times when we've run it, this player right here continues to come too far up the field. And typically, again, we talked about 2 weeks ago, when a player has the end side opposite of a counter, his job is to come up to the line of scrimmage and then just settle his feet. Just settle his feet right here and see what happens. Just settle the feet, and take this blocker on right here on the outside shoulder and try to squeeze it down. because what you don't want to have happen is you don't want the running back to bounce it outside. However, we on the offensive side of the ball, we're trying to get it up in through here. Therefore, our blocking tight end, he's trying to get his shoulder to the inside blocked here. So when we have that defensive end come up the field like that, it's great. When they come up the field more than 2 yards, they're doing the block for us. So we don't have to worry about him, which is exactly what happens here. So as we continue to move through, you can see we don't need to block him because this guy right here is worried about Russ. So now we're in a position.
Look at that hole. He just opened the way and said, "Here, come this way, my friend."
It's very tough, right? Because they have to respect Russ because he scrambles, but he doesn't scramble nearly as much. But it really surprises me that these teams are coming up the field, because they're amped, they're jacked, they want to make big plays, but they're coming up so far that, that is too wide open for a guy that barely, even got touched because he comes through free. See, he comes through free because of the blitz that's taking place on the outside, and we'll see it on the end zone view. But again, here comes Hollister. He didn't get it there, so now he's got to go to the next level. And as he gets to the next level, he gets a great block there. And now we have a double team, which nowadays they don't say it as much, but we used to call that a two-man butt. We used to get a two-man butt block, meaning get two butts together, boom, right there. They're shoulder to shoulder, and then try to get your cheeks together. Get those hips next to each other, because see how those legs are driving? Fantastic. So now you got two guys driving them, and this guy doesn't want any part of it, and now he's gone. It's absolutely gone.
And there was a little one-on-one after you get the double team there. Wasn't it just one-on-one with the corner? It looked like.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was.
And he beat him, and then that was it.
Yep, that's exactly what it was. So as we go through from this angle, and you can see it a lot better. Motion, we see that he shifted over. Now, from this standpoint, everything looks like counter. Remember, a counter is making the run look like it's going one direction and then turning it back the other direction after 2 to 3 strides. So typically your running back's going to take a left, right, left, or he's going to take 2 power steps. So as he moves through here, everything looks like the type of running play that we've done before, where we take either 1, 2, 3, and we're in the hole, or they're going to take what we traditionally do is guys will take a lateral step, and then we press the hole in here. So we're just trying to make it look like we've got this blocking scheme that's going here. And remember, we say for linebackers are taught, read the guards, read the linemen across from you. So if they see it coming downhill, these guys are going to go downhill. And that's exactly what they're doing. So as the play starts to develop, everything's going downhill. Now 58 sees it, and he already starts to settle back because he could see that basically a tight end, anybody on the line is like a guard. So as soon as he sees this hat coming across, this linebacker right here, he's able to see it. So he's more lateral to where this linebacker here, you can see his feet. He's angled a little bit more to the side. So now as we come around the corner, because we've got that hole wide open, great initial block here. And the only reason he can't get his helmet to the opposite side our lineman can't get it to the right-hand side is because he was actually helping somebody else at first. He's getting a chip block here because you always take care of the guys in front first, right? So let's take care of the front 4, and we have it taken care of. I mean, this is a picture that I would take and talk about it at any clinic right here. If only I could have it from the other side, but it's actually great to have it here because we've got it taken care of here, here, and here. I mean, perfectly. He's going to go up the field, 2 guys blocking there, 2 guys blocking there. And then if we're taking care of it here, he'll then go off to the next level. Because remember, we're leaving this guy. You always leave one guy unblocked for the counterback. Counterback's the guy who's going to come and get him right there. Oh, I missed it on that one.
So we got the idea. That's Hollister is the counter block, right?
Yep, exactly who it is. Boom, gets the double team, pushes it through there. Free safety takes an awful angle, and we're gone.
A couple of things happened there too, Bill. I think you just mentioned about the other linebacker on the left. He did start to see that coming, and I think that's partially why I think it was a number 74 on the offensive line couldn't get a good angle on it because he was already starting to move to that spot. But then any doubt about what he could do was taken care of by Hollister. Hollister cleaned him up, and then it was just one-on-one with that corner who Hyde quickly put the skates on him.
Yeah. I mean, both. I'll just let it play. You can see the safety
Boom.
Comes back through.
Shoop.
They're both slipping. I mean,
just
safety's
slipping all over the place.
Just boom, boom, gone. Yeah, they're out of there.
He had a bad angle anyway. He had no chance. The direction he was going, the safety coming up, he slipped and everything, but he had no shot. I mean, that's why he wiped out, because he clearly had the wrong angle on that one. But
yeah, so I'm gonna flip to the next play here in a couple seconds, Norb. So if you can give me just a second.
All right.
Let me go on this one here. All right, here we go. So now we're gonna look at the protection. Now I'm gonna play these really pretty quick because there's 3 of them. So I'm just gonna kind of talk through them as they happen pretty quickly. But bottom line is, we know that our responsibility was we have to cover number 99. Recognize where he is. And I was wondering all week, what are we going to do? What they came up with is a scheme design that I've seen very rarely. You do it against the great linebackers of all time. So we're going to get shifts and motions. That's how we beat them this go around. We beat them because of the shifts and motions that we put on. So first thing we're getting a shift, and a shift takes place just before the snap, and you reset. So what's going to happen here is we've got an outside edge player who's going to come to the end, and now he's going to set. Boom, he's down. Then, and usually you have to be completely set. So we're lucky we don't get called for legal procedure here, because usually you have to be set before the next motion guy can go. Motion takes place when guy's moving, and then the ball snapped while he's in motion. But notice what happens. The first shift gets us in a position to outflank 99. The motion gets us in position that if 99 happens to beat him to the outside, we've got him double flanked. So where most people were thinking, how are we going to get him with our tight ends and our tackles, true tight ends on the line? We did it by giving ourselves space to make this happen. And notice the lateral footwork, which is not so typical when you're teaching guys to block. So they must have worked on this so hard all week long, because again, instead of going downhill, we're just saying, look, we're going to take care of number 99. So we get a lateral footwork. And here's the only problem, because 86 didn't get himself ready. And this is more on Russ. He snapped the ball too soon. We're just not in a perfect position. And that's why Chase is still able to get through. Because look what we're about to hit. And I mean, it is wide, wide open. That's where we're going with the football. Because we have a clear out up top, basically 2-man route. These guys are pushing all out here. They're having to chase. We got a kind of a fake screen, so you can see everybody's moving out this direction. But we took care of it based on the fact that we had this motion take place and that other piece take place. So we'll see here at the end on this one. So you can see now we got a perfect angle here. And now we got a great angle here. And you can see the width. Most people, when you watch film or from the sideline on TV, you don't see how wide it is. This guy's pretty wide, right? But because he's not in a good stance at the very beginning, he's not able to get his feet lateral to where our first guy is, but we should be in a 2-man butt from an offensive situation. He's too strong, gets in his face. Now he has to throw the ball. So we see it again here, but a little bit different look. So now we've got basically a doubles look, two tight ends, 2 wide receivers. Only difference being that receivers are on the line and our tight ends are off the line. So this is often referred to as doubles or deuce. Why they did it again was to give our 2 tight ends space to be able to move against number 99. Usually your tight ends are on, receivers are off. So as we watch this play develop, we know the tight ends have it, but here's the difference. Now we're going to do something different with the linemen. So I want you to just watch our center this time. So we know we're going to put a tight end on 99. They know we've put 2 tight ends on them. But if we don't bring the tight end over, how are we going to help? Watch our center. Live time. See what he did there?
Oh, look at that little fake pull and then or move to the right, and then it came back to help protect on the left side.
This is why I love the end zone view. Love the end zone view. So again, we're in that doubles look. We just showed earlier in the game that we've been going, and these plays are all in sequence relative. So tight end and a second tight end. We were doing a lot of that shifting and motion. We can't do that all game long. They'll figure something. They'll stunt them around inside, right? So what do? We say, look, we're gonna make that little zone look. Zone block. But as long as no one's over you, center, and again, I refer to people by position, as long as nobody's over you, all we want you to do is make it look like it's that run, give a little chip, and reverse. So he's going to chip, and then he's going to reverse pivot out, and now he's over there helping. I mean, look at this. Remember we talked about the V a few weeks ago, right? There's our V. I mean, what a great wall of protection. And our left tackle also does a great job. He has kind of basically the same rule on his blocking. So we're I mean, you want to talk about making sure they know where it is? Left tackle comes down, he does his job, but he can't be done. So what does he do? He retreats. And now he gets a little shot at him, right? So I mean, we're just doing whatever we can to try to wear the guy out. So here's the last play of that sequence. Okay, so now another look. Different look, different play. But again, taking care of 99. Going to send our guy in motion. But now, you know my favorite pass play, right, Norb? Where we send Lockett behind, and then now Hollister. We've been doing that a few times lately, where we send him behind the line of scrimmage, out into the flat.
Sneak him out in the flat while he runs along the behind the line. Yep.
Yeah. So now we're doing the same setup. Come behind the line of scrimmage, but instead stay in block. So it was a great way. What this did, even though I'll show you, everybody will remember what happened at the end. But what I love that they did here was the fact that this is a play that they ran before, and now in a big game, sometimes we don't know why people are setting it up. And I remember talking about Hollister running this play and thinking, man, why did they waste it in a game we were up by 28 points for him to get a token touchdown? They could have saved it for a bigger game. Well, here's why. They ran that so that Washington would see that we do run these plays with our tight ends. But usually, again, for those that haven't watched before, we would usually send him out and into the flat, and he's the guy we're throwing to. And oftentimes it's Lockett. But the last 2 weeks, we've been doing it with our tight ends. Well, now what happens when we do that is it freezes guys, right? You're going to see this guy has to stay home, this guy has to stay home, this guy has to stay home. Because now we're going to go to basically a two receiver or a throwback type of deal. But the key point here is, again, we kept two guys in, and look at the retreat. He has nowhere to go. Great protection. Russ has all the time in the world. We're trying to make something happen to our dual receiver side. But look at the backside over here, right? 4 guys had to stay at home in this big box covering nobody, because last week and 2 weeks ago, we sent guys out in the flat. So that's what I loved about it. The problem becomes how he finished it, which I think is, the coaching point here is when there's just nothing there, right? Just throw the ball away. Yeah, because this is a home run, but we're looking for something big, right? He's getting back, and he's hoping that Lockett can clear out over here. Can we get something to anybody else? And instead, okay, we don't like it. We don't like it here. I mean, this is a definite play for Lockett. Double protect, get back. We're going home run ball. He sees safeties are deep. They had stayed deep. Okay, fine. But let's just, how many sideline balls have either been intercepted or close to intercepted with guys in his face? So that's the only issue there. And we're just going to watch the tail end of this on this part right here. So you can just see, again, the guy, it's not like the guy was at an angle or somewhere else. Russ is a veteran. He knows better than this to try to dink and dunk this one here. Let's just get rid of that ball.
Yeah, plus I think was that Sweat who knocked that ball?
Yeah.
Yeah, in fact, on our in my collab with the Washington football fan from YouTube, he talked about Sweat being nicknamed SWAT because he's so good at swatting the ball and knocking it down or popping it up in the air, and that's exactly what he did there. So, yeah, it's kind of forcing it. And I don't even know how open. It looked like Carson was open for a moment, but that I don't know if that's the linebacker chasing him down, but he was closing pretty fast. So hard to know how much he would have even gotten if he could have gotten the ball past him there.
And he wasn't open enough. So I'm going to go to one more play, and then let's go to calls. All right, sounds good. We'll go to calls here. So the last offensive play we're going to hit here. Now this is our open set. You've heard me refer to it as star also. So you hear open set, star, meaning we got 5 wide receivers, 3 to the bottom, 2 to the top. This is our touchdown pass that we had. Great job of the setup. Here's the thing I want us to be kind of paying attention to as we move forward, because while we score the touchdown on it, it's similar to the play when we were doing the preview show where we would run a play or we'd see somebody else run a play that was really quick. And that's what Washington came in with, these quick hitting plays. This is a long developing play down the field for 5 receivers to do a turnaround hitch route. Typically, you're going to have guys that will go down, and we saw it with Washington when we did our preview show, right? They all ran 5 yards and turn around for a 3rd and 4 play, right? Or if it's 7 yards, you're going to go 8 or 9 yards. We're at the 10-yard line, and these guys are all going to go to about 12 yards and turn around. That's a long time to ask 5 guys to block 4 guys. We do it, but then it also creates an incredibly tight window. So this is the play. The reason why I'm showing this is great props to the offensive line, because they were gaining confidence as the game went on, and that they could do it. They were proving they could do it. And I'll tell you what Chase Young did. He just amplified the football IQ of our left tackle, because our left tackle, who has had struggles retreating and getting into his stance, our left tackle, we've not been able to get him back. Well, he was forced to get back this week. So what a great pocket we have there. And again, we'll see the lane from as we move forward on it. So let me show you from this angle. Again, look at the protection and look at the lane. Now, in years past, Russell's going, right? I mean, how is he not going?
Yeah, it's like the parting of the Red Seas right there.
Yeah, I mean, it's first
and all those DBs got their backs to him. I mean, there's nobody who's going to stop him from getting probably to the goal line there. And
this is the difference between maybe a Russ and an Aaron Rodgers right now. And again, I usually bring up Aaron Rodgers because I love Aaron. I know we're going to face him at some point, so I kind of like to study him to see what he's doing, and because I think they're both kind of similar, but they're different. Rodgers gets these tight windows, and so does Russell. But Russ really forces him in a lot. And what's great is that he has the arm strength, right? So he has the arm strength to make that throw. But look at this window. He has no window here, no window here. He looked it off, which we talked about last week with Haskins, that Haskins didn't do. So he comes, he looks it off. Great job looking it off here, which tells you he knows he's coming back to the backside. But man, when he comes back to the backside, he is planting and he's throwing, right? I mean, he's dedicated to the throw right now. He's just now setting. Great shift of the momentum with his upper body, front shoulder down, elbow there, down, boom, great. But look at, we're barely turning around. He just knows to throw to that. He does not look open. Look at that. On that frame, he does not look open. But man, what a bullet pass just to sneak it in there. Well, he sneaks it in. But again, when we teach circle of opportunity, and again, this linebacker, DB, nickel, all the different types of play positions. If that guy turns his hands over the other way, and he's trying to reach for it, but man, if he goes inside, this right arm up and left arm through. He definitely could knock it down, potentially interception on a 1st and goal when we're going into halftime and it's a close ball game, right? So awesome that he completed. So don't get me wrong, man. I love that he completed it. But 1st and 10, if they're going to run this, I'd rather we do it at the 7-yard line, 5-yard line. Love the protection. But the fact that Russ no longer runs in these situations, it makes you realize that he wants to throw first. He wants to complete those. Not because he wants his numbers to become larger. That's just the confidence the guy has. So I love that he has that moxie, right? He has the moxie that, man, I can complete that. And he shows. I mean, watch the reaction. This is the Russ we love, right? I don't think he cares about, getting the MVP. Everybody else thinks he does. I think he could care less. He wants to win the Super Bowl MVP. Just watch his reaction after the touchdown. Boom, right there, right? Love it. Like he knew, man, I threaded that needle. So that's what I love about that. So no, let's. Why don't we take a couple calls? We'll see if we can get the cam going here. And all right, sounds good. That play looked awfully familiar to a play that the Seahawks had ran against the Falcons. I think it was Greg Olsen ran that exact same route where he just went right, like a 10-yard hitch, and the ball was there before he even turned around and was lucky to catch it. But it was one of those things where he. You want to take me off the screen there, Norb? Yeah, you bet. All right, so we'll go to the phone lines here while Coach Bill gets his camera reset. And so let's see who we'll go with first. How about let's go to Aiden Pham, one of our NORBFAM members. Let's get Aiden on the line with a question. All right, so let's make sure this is all working. Aiden, welcome to the show. You're on with Coach Bill and NorbCam.
Hey, Norb. Hey, Coach.
Hey.
Okay, so in the beginning of the year, the Seattle Seahawks defense, they struggled. In the first 8 weeks, they've given up like 362 yards passing. But recently, they've improved a lot, and you can see. My question to you is, what has changed in the defense? Is it strategically, or is it just us not playing good offenses?
Well, other than the Jets, I mean, most offenses in the NFL are decent, and so I think the key is more in the scheme that we're running. If you take the first few weeks of the season compared to the last few weeks, and I'm going to address this in the last couple of plays, the way we are playing defense now is very, very aggressive. We're getting after it. And again, at the end of this game, where there was, yes, they were moving down the ball and kind of dinking and diving, we did not get back into prevent defense too much. We did it at the end of the first half, and then we did it once or twice at the end of the game. But I'm going to show how we actually did some press coverage, which is pretty rare at times when you're in a game, you're up 20-15, team has the ball, a couple minutes to go. How many times do we see teams retreat and get back? Something's come into Ken Norton or Pete Carroll or somebody in terms of let's play aggressive. And I honestly think it's Jamal Adams. In all honesty, I think it's a guy like Adams he's making plays, and and he's a guy that has the respect of the coaching staff. There's rare's the time that a player can go and have a one-on-one, with a coach and say, look, let's try this. He has enough respect from these guys that he could probably go into a Ken Norton or even a Coach Carroll and say, hey, let's play aggressive. Like, guys are getting after it. They're having fun, and then they're, building the momentum off of that. So I think it's more scheme because we're seeing it in what we're watching on the film.
Yeah, good question. Let's go to another. Thanks, Aiden, for the call. Let's stick around because we're going to take questions at the end as well. So I couldn't get back to you here, but let's get a few other ones here. Let's get another one of the mods over on Discord, Nick LeBeau, also one of the NORBFAM MVPs. Nick?
Hello,
Nick.
Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Can. Go ahead, Nick. What's your question, buddy?
Is how did Seattle's defense and offense manage to stop Washington's two best players in Terry McLaurin and Chase Young?
Yeah, so the Chase Young piece, obviously, we're kind of looking at that from a standpoint of we just dictated and guaranteed that we were going to put 2 to 3 players on it. But other teams have done that. They've tried to put 2 players, but it's usually been a tackle and a tight end, or a tackle and a running back. And we did something that's different. We motioned into stuff, shifted into things. So Chase didn't really know where it was coming from. And I think Pete Carroll may have gone back to the old USC days where he would always try different things like that, knowing that he's got a guy who's fresh out of college who would be a senior. So how would I play against a guy who would be a senior in college right now? And he's probably telling his guys that's what I would have told him last week. Let's treat Chase Young like he's a senior at the Ohio State, and let's defend him that way. So we're going to try some different things, throw him off because he's still young and new. So just a great scheme set up by them. How we stop, some of their, other players, the receiver, I think that was part of your question. They still they were able to catch the ball some, but the fact that we're jamming more, we're disguising some coverages, we just did a much better job of keeping players from making huge plays against us. Right. Again, Haskins throws 55 times, completes 38 of them, and only throws 1 touchdown. Right. That's, 38 out of 55 to have 1 touchdown.
That's bend but don't break defense right there, right?
Yeah. Although I think you and your dad thought that they were going to break there at the end, or at least I thought you were going to break when I was watching you.
My dad did. My dad said, "Oh, maybe we should just let them score." And I was like, "No, we got to stop them."
Yeah. But we'll see on a couple of the plays.
We're going to get into the defensive side on the part 2. So a good question there, Nick. Let's go to another one here. Let's go to Seahawks for Life. Seahawks for Life. Who's this? I know you've been on here before. What's your name again, and where are you from?
Dickie from Coeur d'Alene.
Oh yes, our friend from Coeur d'Alene. What's your question for Coach Marsh?
For Life.
It's about the Pro Bowlers. So DK, Russell Wilson, Quandre, Jamal, Bobby, Tyler, and Nick Bloor made it all. Did you think there were other ones that should have gotten a Pro Bowl selection?
Well, it depends on how you're looking at it, right? There's, because of the way the Pro Bowl selection is done, it's a little bit different than all pro, right? At the end of the season, where there's, people that are really studying and, paying attention for the most part, or people that are with them and around the game all the time. Pro Bowl selections, it's a lot of popularity. And again, like DK's had a great season, but if they're watching from the standpoint that I am, yes, it's great numbers, but his blocking, maybe there's other guys that block and receive. And then are there other players on our team that deserve? Yeah, of course. There's always going to be 2 or 3 guys. But I think you can go around the league and every team says, we have 2 or 3 guys that deserve to do it. So to me, the Pro Bowl is just kind of a fun, neat thing that's more about celebrity type and who has some great personality. And people look at the numbers and who are the top couple guys in the league. But again, I look at our guy Hollister, right? Hollister to me is one of the top tight ends going right now because of the way he's playing. He's catching, he's blocking, he's doing all those different things. So, guy can go, guy can't go, so Russ is going to go, Metcalf's going to go. You like to see some other guys that you'd hope would get there, but you can only fill so many spots.
Well, your favorite one you kept talking about, our special teams guys, Michael Dixon, Jason Myers, arguably two of the best tandem kickers on one team. I don't think they were on that list. I don't know how that's possible. Jason Myers hasn't missed a field goal all year, and Michael Dixon is the king of putting the ball within the 10-yard line, definitely inside the 20. And how those guys don't make the Pro Bowl, I don't know. But
yeah, and you can't. It wasn't like when we were younger and we'd say, well, no one paid attention to little old us that are in the Pacific Northwest. Well, the fact that we're getting calls from the UK and some other places, Texas and places like that, people know where we are. People have heard of Seattle. They've heard of the 12. They've heard of the wave. We get the wave back when we get back into that stadium. It'd be great. So there's no hidden gems, but we know that we have a couple hidden gems in our special teams players. So yeah. But to me, it's kind of right. Like, hey, they'll be okay with it.
Yeah. And the Pro Bowl,
we land 3 guys on the All-Pro team. That's what I like to see.
Yeah, exactly. The Pro Bowl is not the ultimate goal. Yeah, you make that All-Pro, that's a whole nother accomplishment.
Yeah.
Pro Bowl is kind of a different sort of gauge. So I don't read too much into it. People have been talking about it all in the chat, and I don't know if you knew this, Bill, but did you hear about Josh Gordon becoming ineligible for this game on Sunday?
Yeah. Eligible. It's crazy how long and all the stuff that it became, I always go to the fact of, he put himself in this position, right? So that's one thing. So let's not forget, player puts themselves in their position. I used to have to talk to players about that all the time. They want to come back earlier. Hey, you put yourself in this position. Now, still I don't like the fact that you get a kid excited and then all of a sudden then you kind of take it away. Like, hey, here's your Christmas present. Open it up. Okay, now put it back in the box, wrap it up. I got to take it back to the store, right? So it's a shame. But now I don't know all the details of what happened, but I seen a message on that.
Yeah, I mean, just reading this text from Tom Pelissero, he says, Josh Gordon had a setback in his battle with substance abuse and now won't be allowed to practice or play indefinitely, per sources, as Bob Condotta from the Times reported. The NFL informed the team this morning Gordon hadn't complied with terms of his conditional reinstatement. So that's really disappointing. Right? It's very disappointing.
It's disappointing. At the same time, I just hope he gets himself right. Like, I just don't want to, hear about a guy like that somewhere down the road because, he's a young man, right? I mean, he still has life to live. And so, of course we want to play football and the guy's phenomenal. We've seen him make a couple of, spectacular plays in the very short stint that he had with us already. And then prior to joining us, but at the same time, man, how many shots are you going to get? And that's where I struggle with other guys that don't get a shot or work so hard and just can't quite get there. And then someone else who has all the skills and the abilities and the tools and all those things. Again, we don't know the full details of what caused it, because some of it's upbringing and those other things. But man, to just have that happen again and then to hear that that's the reason, I was hoping that it'd be something else or, some other thing. So just a bummer, but I hope he gets himself right. Get himself right and then get him back.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, ultimately, that's the thing because clearly he hasn't gotten a hold of this issue, and it goes beyond his football career. I mean, he's still a relatively young man. He's got his whole life ahead of him. So hopefully, and I'm thinking that part of that with him, I thought when he came here that it was going to be a perfect fit. Like I love Pete Carroll. I'm a big believer in him. The stuff he does with the community. I've seen him do things behind the scenes with players that literally no cameras were around. And I've seen him and the players and others, who do things that are phenomenal at their practices and everywhere else. So I know that he genuinely loves and cares for his players. The fact that he's been unable to, for the most part, and others, collaborate like they would in a normal off season and in a normal season where guys could get together more and hang out more. Maybe there's a bigger group that could protect him because I can't believe there's too many other teams that could do for a player what the Seattle Seahawks from top down, right? From back when Paul Allen was here to, the owners now and his sister and everybody else, to Schneider, to Carroll, to the coaches, to our community. We take care of that guy. Like we take care of our own when they become ours. So just tough. Yep. A super chat from Alina Dahl, one of our mods, says DK is only 64 yards away from breaking Largent's record on the most receiving yards single season for the Hawks. So I think there's a good chance. I'd like to say that's a pretty high chance that he can get it done, but 2 games to go against a pretty tough secondary. So we'll see.
Elena,
we'll see.
I know Elena can't quite respond quickly, but I think Elena would be very, very upset if he broke the record. Because I recall she's
a big fan of Largent. Yes,
Largent. She probably has her 80 jersey on. She'll be wearing her 80 jersey in the games. Like, throw it to Lockett. Throw it to Lockett.
Yeah, right. Just to preserve the record for history's sake. Yeah. All right, let's. We've got a lot of people on the line here. We'll try to get a couple more here, and then we'll get to the defensive side of the ball. So let's
Steve Largent says his favorite play. If you ask him what is his favorite play of all time, his entire career, it's the hit on Harden.
Well, there's so much around that with the revenge factor, what Harden did to him earlier in that year. That's something.
That might be a good random. We might pull up a random show and just do a handful of the most random breakdowns of some spectacular plays.
Hey, that would be. There have been a lot of them. Yeah, for sure. All right, let's take a call from Jack Attackers, our chef friend, Jack. Chef Jack, you're on, man. What's your question? What you got?
What's up, Norb? How you been?
My favorite cooking YouTuber.
Jack Attacker's coming with it on the line. I love it.
Yes. Okay, I have a question for both of you, Coach and Norb, okay?
All right.
So the Seahawks have been a top 5 defense for the last few weeks. Like, they've been a really good defense. You can argue that they're more of a defensive team than an offensive team these last few weeks. So my question for you is, me and Norb were on a Discord call the other day, and we said that our defense versus the Rams defense can't go up against each other. Like, it can't come down to defense. But what I'm saying is that our offense hasn't been great. That's what I'm trying to say. Our offense hasn't been great. It's been borderline to maybe just good. Russell Wilson has not been playing himself. And really, no one has been that X factor, that great player making all those plays on the offense. So you guys might have different opinions on this. Do you think the game against the Rams is going to come down to defense or offense? Like, is that going to determine the game?
Wow.
Well, first off, you got to tune in, Saturday night when we do the preview, or whichever day we do the preview show. That I don't want to give away too much. But the key piece is, our offense, versus their defense, their offense versus our defense. Our offense versus their defense has to be better than their offense, versus our defense, right? So it's tough because we're the 26th ranked team in the league. So even though we played pretty well here, we moved up one ranking spot in the overall scheme of things. So when you're taking the bigger body of work, it's really not a comparison how well the Rams play and how well we play. Here's the difficult thing. I don't like the fact. I like the fact that they lost to the Jets, but I don't like the fact that we're the team that has to face them in a big game following the game that they lost to the Jets. If you followed that, right? So they're going to be laser focused. It still is down the line, and when you lose, you hyper focus on all the little things. If you watch Donald walk off that field, he was not a happy camper. I'll guarantee you, he went straight to the film room, watched himself, what's ready for next week. So they're going to come laser ready to go. To where we won, we beat a team that defense is playing pretty solid. So it's gonna be tough, man. It's gonna be really, really tough. But I think we'll pull it out. But they're not gonna be the team that they just were this last week. I'll guarantee you that.
Well, and to answer that question before we go to the defensive side of the ball, I would say, you just said they're not the team that they were this past week. And I counter with that Seattle is not the team that we were when we faced them the first time.
Absolutely.
I think we have personnel who was not available then. We were, missing Carson. We were missing our center. We were missing Greg Olsen could be back for this game. So just from a personnel standpoint, but also I think that was when we were playing, I think offensively, probably at our worst. They caught us at a really bad time.
Yeah.
And I think since then, they've made some adjustments clearly and are playing in a much better scheme-wise as well as execution-wise. Not perfect, but I think things are coming together in a way where the timing for this rematch is good. Yeah, it sucks that it comes at the hand of the Rams losing embarrassingly the week before. So like you said, they're going to want to exact revenge and redeem themselves. But I think so does Seattle. So Seattle wants to redeem themselves against what they didn't do the first time against the Rams. So I think this game has got. I don't think people ask in the chat, is it possible we're looking that we might take this game lightly because of what the Jets did? I don't think so. I mean, this is their playoff. This is a playoff game. This is the division on the line. Nobody, if they can't get up for this game and not be focused, clearly they're not. This is the playoff before the playoff, and so they're going to be all hands on deck. Ultra focused. So it's going to be a fun game. I mean, we should be watching these two teams playing at their best, which will be fun to see how they come out of it.
Yeah.
So Bill,
and keep in mind, we're moving the ball all over the map on offense in terms of who we're utilizing. And if you take away the 50-yard run, we basically had 120 yards roughly rushing, and Russ had 120 yards passing. So that's 240 total yards. Yet we still figure out a way to get the 20 points. I get that we don't want to just be kicking field goals, but thank goodness we have Mr. Field Goal out there. So there's a lot of things that we're doing really, really well. But I still think we can even take it to such a greater level. So the fact that we win when Russ throws for 121, we win when 120 yards rushing is solid. That's solid against this Redskin team or against the Washington football team. Man, how much better can we be? Yet it feels like we're playing pretty well, right? And I think we are because we're picking and choosing right. It's like they say timely hitting in baseball. I think we're getting timely plays on offense and defense right now that we weren't getting the last time we played them. So excited to play them.
Yeah, it's a good brand of football, and I know Coach Pete Carroll in his press conference said he loves this football. That whole idea that Russ threw for such minimum yardage, and we rushed for more, and the balance. I think this is the kind of game he loves, and it has been a formula.
I keep saying it, yeah. And I mean, you and I have been on the same page all along, Norb, that letting Russ cook is not 300 yards passing. Letting Russ cook is letting him find that rhythm, make the things happen, pumping his fist, doing those type of things, and not throwing for over 200 yards, not throwing 30 times, having the running game and letting our defense. I loved that it was our defense on the field at the end of the game. And there's been, I think, 4 times that the other team had the ball this year with our defense on the field with a chance to score, to tie or take the lead. And all 4 times we came out victorious. That's I like that.
Yeah, that is true. That is true, and that's a good spot to be. And it just, again, as much as the defense has been, criticized so heavily, they have stood up tall when it counted, and so we got to give them credit where credit's due. Yeah. All right. Let's speaking of defense, Bill. Let's talk about the defense. You ready to jump into part 2, the defensive side of what did Seattle do to stop the Washington football team on offense?
Yeah. So we're talking about a couple things that we did and a couple things that we could look for down the road that could happen. So basically here, what we're going to see here is the interception that takes place. So I'm just letting you watch it to see how it breaks down on that. Now we're going to come back to it. And what I want you to see here is how well the umbrella secondary, and I've talked each of the last 2 weeks, how even for myself when I was coaching, we would run a drill where we would have the quarterback take a 5-step drop. And by the time the quarterback set his feet and was ready to plant and move forward, so think depth, crossover, step, gather, hippity hop. So basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6, 7. So in that whole 5-step drop and the gather, step, throw, it's about 7 steps in total if you're just counting the footwork. The DB should be back at 25 yards. If they're at that spot, you're going to be in great position because it allows you to come up to the football. So if we watch as Haskins is dropping back, and even though he's turning around, we can still count the footwork as there's 1, and I'm just looking at the footwork here, 2, 3, 4, 5, and now he's going to take his gather steps. So basically a 7-step drop. Now as he starts to come back forward, he'll come back into the frame here on his hippity hop before he's ready to throw it. Okay, now he's just getting ready to throw it there. Line of scrimmage was right here at this spot. And look at where we are as a secondary. Everybody's back at their basically 25-yard locations. So now we're in a great position where when he goes to throw the football, everybody's going to be coming up to it. This is the perfect type of coverage for a deep ball that's going to take place and for the outlet guys because, again, he's going to be able to come up to the football. He would be coming up to the football. He's lateral enough that he come up to the football. He's in a position to come up to the football. He's in a position to come up to the football. And we still have 2 extra guys that aren't even playing yet. So as it starts to unfold, what we get here is the deep ball takes place. And now this crossing route that's coming, a deep crossing, we're still in position that neither guy knows where the ball's coming at, But now look at the break on the football because he's deeper. And it's so hard to get players to do this. And this is where we were struggling early on. We weren't getting ourselves in position where when the ball was in the air, we could make breaks up on the football, make a break up on the football. Because then you can plant and go get it at its highest point or figure it out to where the momentum of the receiver is obviously taking him usually in that direction. As we've learned with one of our guys and with other guys in the league, receivers don't like to stop, plant, go back and get it. DBs love to do that. So as the ball continues to flow into the air, you can see it's right about here is where the football is. Now he's breaking up on the football. And there's a key rule when we're coaching anybody at any level is save the ball flight. Do you do everything you can to save the ball flight? And the best example I give to people is typically, I'm going to take it to an end zone view because it's easier to see. Norb, you remember the Derek Jeter play in the World Series years ago where the ball was thrown, it was thrown short about 20 feet.
Yeah, and he flipped it.
He runs all the way to the first baseline. Right? Yes, he runs all the way to the first baseline, snags it with his right hand, flips it to the home, and they get him out. It's one of the greatest athletic plays I've ever seen.
Yeah, I believe it was Jason Giambi who was caught running for home. He didn't even bother to slide because he didn't think he had a chance of making that play.
Exactly. So think of it from that standpoint. Saving the ball flight. If every receiver would do that every time, receiver would always, they win 9 times out of 10. But usually what happens is receivers get caught up watching the ball. And so now instead of recognizing that there's a DB there, they keep running when they should be planting and coming back and getting it. Flip side, great break on it. So the timing is such that hard to tell where this DB is over here as a wide receiver that's crossing. But when he was running across over here, you're always taking a flash peek. So receiver comes, he breaks his route, he came across the field. He knows that there's a deep safety. He knows there's a corner. So he knows there's a deep cover 3 taking place. He knows the guy's there in a position to break on the football. So he should be doing everything he can to come back to the football, highest point, coming here and catching it somewhere here. Instead, it's our guy that almost mistimes it, but at least he's breaking on the football. Love it, love it, love it, love it. And then all of a sudden it's transferring into offensive mode. And defensive players love these drills in practice. These are the type of drills you get guys hyped up on where you'd say, okay, we're going to do, counter punch to adversity. We get an interception. Now everybody becomes an offensive player, try to get a block. And that's what I love about what happens here is the fact that guys are hustling to get in position. Now, Norb, I know if you had intercepted this pass, you'd have known, please stay down the sideline. Just intercept it. Now, I'm nitpicking, right? We're ecstatic we got the interception. But all your guys are setting up for the wall to come down the sideline. I mean, even the big fellas here, right? These guys are coming. They want to make some blocks out here to the side. This guy's already blocking this way. We're going to get a block out this way. So it's drills that you learn. You hope you can get a pick 6. And in a close game, that's why I always told our players, I owe it to you to pick on the little things. It's not because I'm getting on you. It's not, yes, you caught the ball. Or yes, you intercepted the ball. But what's going to elevate us to get to the title game, right? These little type of things. So again, it may seem kind of nitpicky, but at the same time, we're ecstatic. He got the ball, but maybe we're in a
nice wide open lane with a blocker in front on the correct angle of his helmet. Could have really gone far down that sideline.
Yeah, well, the only 2 guys that are going to get him is either 73, and you got to hope he can do something with 73, and maybe Haskin gets him. But now we're doing this. So again, am I nitpicking? Yeah, of course I am, because he made the interception. He gets an A+ on the interception, but then it becomes a B+ on film because it's like, man, kind of in trouble there. So again, little thing, but so happy that we're getting back. So when we're talking about how are we playing better, in weeks prior, guys were getting behind us or we're leaving guys open. But because our front 8 is playing so well, Norb, it allows us to get into those umbrella defenses, which puts us in a position to do what we're doing there.
And I gotta say, before you jump into the next play, I know it's DJ Reed who made that interception, but what an awesome pickup DJ Reed has been, right? I mean, he wasn't even talked about, during the offseason because it was all about Quentin Dunbar, and DJ Reed just kind of sneaks into there, released for the 49ers. The 49ers released him saying, you're not even going to play this year. That was kind of what he was told, is that you had an injury. Yeah. Sorry, we don't see you playing. And that's why he was released. So he had a chip on his shoulder to prove the 49ers, wrong for letting him go like that. And he's been a revelation. He's been awesome on coverage. And I'm convinced he's going to break a punt return one of these days because he's just so quick and explosive. So it's great to see him making plays. It's awesome.
it's great on the, you nail it with the punt return, right? He's caught some balls that I thought he was going to fair catch, and then he's catching and accelerating and getting us 10 or 12 yards. And you always, to speak to special teams real quick with him, your goal on a punt return is to get one first down, right? Unless you're fair catching it, get us at least one first down worth from where you catch it. So catch it. Of course, you're designing to try to score, but it's tough in the NFL. But if you can get us 10 yards, that puts us in a good position. But now at DB, I'd argue he's the best DB we have. And others might argue with me, but I think the way he's playing, the way he's come on, he has the chip on the shoulder based on, like you said. And he's one of those guys when people talk about, whoa, we didn't expect that, or could you have done this? Well, we're a different team than we were, back in August when we were talking about how the season was going to go and the players we're going to have, and back in July and June, what have you. So guys are coming around. They're figuring out our philosophies, our schemes. And again, front eight is playing well. So it allows a guy like that to do what he needs to do, which is get back, be aggressive, make the play, do some really neat stuff.
Yeah. So fantastic. Great breakdown. I love your point about bringing up critical points in a play that was a successful one. The Russell Wilson touchdown throw, for example, while it was successful, there were still things that you could say, well, maybe that wasn't the best choice. And then here, he had the interception, huge play to stop the offense. But like you said, it could have been better. It could have been an even better play if he zigs instead of zags on that play, right? So that's what I love about this, because it's easy for us as fans to go, oh, they scored, or I got an interception. We don't need to look at that play. That was a good one. And yet there was always something that could be broken down. That's what I love about the detail that you bring in these analysis.
Well, I was, again, I was blessed to have a couple of mentors that were fantastic that helped me out. So that helped me along the way. But, as you go into coaching and you continue along, after about 3 or 4 years, you have to decide what are a couple of the things that you're going to take a ton of pride in. And those are going to be kind of your mantra for the rest of your career. And then you delegate other things to other people. The two things that I really wanted to do really well was time management, right? In the final 2 minutes of a game, I want people to think that head coach is always going to be the other head coach. So I always knew time management, timeouts left, when to take the knee, all those types of things. Felt pretty good about that. Now, did I win every game? You were there? No, I didn't. But you go through, you try to do that. The other piece, though, was I was always going to make sure that we took pride in the little things, right? So that it allowed us to, even when we were winning or if we won a game by a lot of points, guys knew when they came into film study that we were going to call out the great plays, but we're also going to call out plays that we were kind of medium range plays. So a guy would catch the ball, and hit him in the chest. And it could be a 25-yard catch. Hey, great catch. But you know what? If you'd have circled up, saved the ball, flight, squatted down to catch it, maybe you accelerate and get a few more yards. So we were always pushing guys to get a little bit better, because you don't always have the depth behind you at my level. But at the NFL level, they should be doing the same thing, right? The good programs, Belichick's doing it, Carroll's doing it. They just do it different styles. You have to nitpick the little things. That's what keeps teams at top. It's why Seattle's the second winningest team in the NFL in the last 10 years, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, we love that's it. Why.
Yeah, that's why. Devil's in the details. All right, let's give us some more defensive details. Bill, what you got next?
Okay, so this is a set of plays that I want. It's more an educational piece, because the first play is going to teach you, or is going to show you how it was set up to beat us a little bit later on their touchdown. So it's a learning aspect from what they did earlier to set us up. So I really think one thing people really ask a lot or want to learn is, what do teams do early that they come back to later, and how did they set that up? Other than bootlegs, right? Bootlegs are easy because it's run, and then fake that same run and come around on the bootleg. But this one is a really neat design, a neat little scheme. So the first thing we're going to get, it's a slant swing combo, meaning we're going to get a receiver who's going to run a slant. And instead of showing you, I'm going to break it down a little bit more at the beginning here. We're going to get the receiver who's going to run a slant, but he's going to run it pretty tight. And then we're going to get a swing back out of the backfield. Okay, so we're just going to see kind of how this plays out, and then I'll go into a little bit more here. So you can see just without having seen much of it at all, you can see what happened to our two defensive players on this play. Okay, not necessarily how they ended up there, but the fact that they both ended up jumping the swing route, right? So if we take it back, what you're going to see is technically, because he's on the line of scrimmage and because we have a linebacker on the line of scrimmage, he's allowed to do an immediate block action. So as opposed to down the field where it might be blocking down the field on a pass play, he can come right on him and make that block. So that's essentially what you get. The first initial look is a block. Now, He is down the field a little ways, but again, at fast speed, hard to notice. But then he immediately comes off it into the route. But here's the rub. We have a linebacker who's keying on this receiver because you can tell that we're in man-to-man deep, man-to-man under zone deep. So as we're covering man here, he's covering a man out there, but we're going into a deep zone back here. There's confusion and chaos as to, do we switch? Do we not switch? So because they didn't switch, or they yelled it and somebody didn't do the correct thing, now we have two guys that are out here on this swing pass, and we only had rushed 3. So Haskins gets to drop back. He gets to hitch. Hitch meaning with his upper arm, how he's throwing it. Doesn't get to the swing because he sees two guys out there and actually makes a pretty nice pass. But this is what we wanted them to do, and you'll see what it's setting up. So I don't mind that they completed it, but it's what they saw upstairs as a coaching staff that hurt us later. So just one last time at fast speed, because I'm not going to show the end zone view of this. Again, you get the little rub there, and now boom. And that is so easy to see as a coach upstairs, because when you see quarterbacks looking at pictures, you see them fold over, used to be fold over the book. Now they get the iPads out and they look at the play. Someone took this picture, sent it down to the Haskins, sent it to the QB, quarterbacks, all those others, and say, okay, we have to come back to this combo and then pick and choose your poison, because we think they're not going to get this right. So here's what happens. Same type of deal. Now, basically they're in the same spot, but this one I'm not going to go full speed. We're just going to kind of, so you can see as it develops here, same look, right? But now, because the last time when this happened, they threw it to the slant. What does Bobby do? He immediately
he stays on the slant.
He immediately turns slant, and what does our corner do? They see the same exact combination. They saw it earlier, because what happened is defensively, hey guys, if they come out in this same formation and you see Haskins do this reverse pivot to that's no play fake to a sprint out. I mean, that's not a true play fake, right? I mean, there's no fake there.
Right.
It drives me crazy when they do these. Like, you're not fooling anybody, right?
Right.
So, but they saw this receiver come down and make the block. They saw this running back go out. So right away, our corner, who thought, well, I had him last time, but last time when I did that, man, they got this receiver into the end zone or on the slant. And Bobby's thinking, man, last time I got bumped. I was supposed to take that guy, but if I did, they took this. So who do I go? And now, so when people go, what happened? Look at our guys. Worst position.
He doesn't know what he's doing out there. He got back turned.
Both of them, Norb. I mean, this is such a rarity. Both guys are turned the wrong direction. So, you know, that's what you get. And you can barely kind of see it here as it comes into frame. I mean, just this is one that they will actually, because they won, they're probably going to chuckle at. Guys will joke, and the coaches will let them chuckle. Had they lost, guys would chuckle because the coach say, guys, look at these guys. And they'll make some comment. And then the coaches would tell them to be quiet in about a split second, because they'd be, hey, this can't happen. I mean, this is brutal in a game that's pivotal, you know, against a team that struggled all day. And now they get this easy combo on a play that we already corrected. I mean, that guy, he scores from the other 20-yard line. So a little bit of a struggle there, Norb, but that was, you know, a combination where, again, you can see how it play early on, all the different things that you get to see in a game on TV, how it came to fruition there. How teams take a picture, how they get it into the iPad. What is the quarterback looking through? What is the coordinator looking through? Hey, do you guys all see that same picture? How wide open it was on the slant? Hey, let's come back to that in Haskins. It's pick or choose, right? One of those guys are going to make a mistake because they did it before. They're not going to correct it probably. Just make the right choice.
So when it comes down to the flip side of that, what they should have done defensively, from obviously we're not in the room, so we don't know what the assignment is. But in the first example, should it have been Shaquille getting that guy in the flat, and then KJ should have stayed on the inside receiver?
Yeah, and you're usually going to be in man. When you're inside the 20-yard line defensively, you're going to be in man up front. So I got to believe that, you know, number one corner, you know, outside corner has number one receiver, meaning you always count outside in. So he's got number one receiver who is in tight. The only other person would be the running back out of the backfield. But as soon as they cross, that becomes a switch. And now you have to decide, you know, most teams will call a switch there. So again, corner, Shaquille has that tight wide receiver who's in there tight. if he's going to just run across, fine. And it's either, hey, I got to stay with him man to man because our rule is stay with the player. So he would stay with that player as the running back comes out. Wagner just ran over the top like he did because last time he got rubbed. So he knew not to get rubbed. He came around the outside. So he was with the right guy. But then all of a sudden it became Shaquille going from man to man to a switch. He switched, but Bobby didn't switch to where before they both went the wrong way. So typically you would, like for us, we would switch that because we'd have our linebacker in the middle, guy's already coming right at him. He just turns, runs with him. The corner can see the back coming out of the backfield. He can turn and see that coming, and now you're in a position to come up to the football. Either way is correct. 50-50 is correct. What's not correct is both guys.
Both of guys chasing the wrong, one guy. Yeah, chasing the same guy. Yeah. So it's a communication. It's a communication thing. Like you said, no secrets on defense, right?
Yeah. And you can live with that only from a standpoint of it is communication. It's not, geez, they got two stud receivers.
It's not a lack of skill or anything like that. It was simply they just weren't on the same page.
Yep. So final three plays of the game. Because I think everybody was kind of trying to figure out what was the good. Kind of the good, or the great, and then at the end, we want to talk about the little Hail Mary that they threw up. So the last two sacks, we'll see. And I'm actually going to take it to the end zone. Actually, I want to take it to the front zone view of this one.
Make sure you pull a play up there too.
Oh, my bad. Sorry. So as we develop the play, here's what I like. And again, usually you're in strong man-to-man inside the 20, and then outside the 20 you can play zones. But here's what I like. The fact that it's near the end of the game, and as this drive went on down the field, I mean, there was 10 plays in this drive. 10 plays as they go down the field. This was about as deep as we played, because we had the question earlier, what were we doing differently? This, right where we are here, and I actually had snapped some pictures. We didn't have problems with the earlier. I had actually snapped a picture of the 10 plays, what we were pre-snap, so that you could see picture, whatever it was. But I'll basically tell you, we were in this type of a look just about every play, and sometimes we were even jamming. So I love that we weren't dropping back by 20. We were given the dinking stuff. What hurt them was on the earlier play, they went deep, and it's an offensive tendency. I'm going to come back to the group here for a second. The tendency that offensive coordinators have, I had it, everybody has it. Your quarterback is at his best in the short passing game. One step, throw it. One step, throw it. He was doing that. That's all of a sudden, Haskins goes from being nowhere to be seen in the first half to second half, kind of end of the first half drive, and the second half he's rolling, making some plays. And then they get down inside the 30-yard line, and they start taking shots at the end zone. And they did it twice on first down, and now all of a sudden you still have 3 downs to play with, but now you're just in a different mindset because you get down there, and instead of just continuing to do what you need to do, you have a minute and a half left. They waste a play throwing it deep, and now they're in this position. And that's what helps us. So I love it when we're on defense and teams do that, but I can't stand. And it took me a few years before I got out of that, where you think, man, first time I should just do it. And it happened in another NFL game where they were moving down, and then they on their third and fourth down and like 7 yards to go, they threw deep passes when you only need 7 yards. So here we go. Here's the this was the second down play.
Okay, pull the game up on your screen, and I do that in Madden too. I start throwing it all over the place when I'm doing just fine, running the ball and going short stuff. So that desire to get it all back in one play, temptation.
People don't like to run it again or flop it and run it again or do what's doing best for them. And then because you feel like, man, we're one play away from winning the game, and that's what you start thinking. And guys start saying, coach, take a shot. Coach, take a shot at it. Because what if he fumbles or you just can't. You got to trust that you're almost there. So
Bill, is this the play after the 2 sacks? Is this the final offensive play?
No, so this is second. I'm going to show you a second down, third down, fourth down.
Okay, of the final possession.
The final 3 plays.
Just second down.
Final possession when everybody's kind of, oh man, they're down at the.
Well, this is when our heartbeat was going the fastest, and the palms were sweaty. Mom's spaghetti. It was bad. It was very nerve-wracking. All right,
that's right. Here we go. I'd do that whole rap for you if we had time, but I can't right now. So. Here we go. Now, again, great rush up front, right? So guys are moving, and now, we have some serious athletes. It used to be, right, you had some big, huge dudes that were playing on the D-line, not in these years. Watch the lateral footwork here. And again, talking position, not by last name of player. Just watch our guy right here in terms of the lateral footwork that he does just to keep himself moving, where most guys are going to just bull rush, meaning, when I say bull rush, meaning just go right into the guy in front of you. But we're going to see a great bull rush on the next play. So as we go through this, you'll see him go with his lateral footwork. Not necessarily, it's not always a guy that I'm talking about that will make the sack, but just the fact that he's going lateral and he's just chugging up the field, and now we're doing a stunt and it would come around the edge. This is not a group that's just going to contain the quarterback. This is defensive coordinator and head coach saying, man, if we're in a tight ball game, we're going to go after this guy. So where most guys would maybe rush 3 and drop back, or rush 4 and bull rush the shoulder, we get a hard drive rush by this right defensive tackle. Again, lateral, boom, he's inside. We get a curl loop around here. We got hard off the edge on the outside, hard on the edge off the outside, and now there's nowhere for him to go. I mean, it's fantastic. And 4 guys there, that means we've got 7 guys back inside of, basically 15 yards, 7 guys covering all that space back behind us. But this happens because of a great rush, the fact that we're not just sitting in a prevent defense and letting them go down the field, making things happen. We're getting after it and doing the thing. I mean, look at right here. If we were in a zone, this guy is dropping out. Linebacker's dropping here, hook to curl. I love the fact that we're not playing a zone down here, right? We're going after him. We're going to play man to man. We're running with guys because we know this guy is not a good thrower when he has to drop back deep, right? We already said that. He's best when he can just take one step, throw it right now. He wants to throw it already. This is not his game. And Norb, I don't know if you remember me talking about how we'll go to the next play.
Hey, real quick before you break that play. So I don't know who got credit for the sack on that. Was it LJ Collier? I mean, LJ is the one who kind of gets around his, the left tackle, and it looks like he's the first one to him. But look at that technique. LJ slaps the hands down of the tackle, which allows him to get outside, and then, like you said, pushes him forward into the heart of the defense there. But LJ Collier, man, as much as we've been complaining about LJ Collier, some people calling him a bust and all that, it's great to see him making plays here. And again, with a 4-man rush, I mean, that's the main thing here, is that they could get to the quarterback with a 4-man rush, which they didn't do all game long. No. You should have heard my dad going, he kept saying, they can't rush the quarterback. They can't get to the quarterback. They can't get to the quarterback. You have to say it over and over again. And as soon as when it finally mattered, it was the last drive, they get to him twice in a row. I would have loved to see it earlier.
I'm going to come to the play.
It's great that it got there.
Well, no doubt about it. And what's funny is, people talk about it, and announcers talk about that the defense is getting tired. They need to get off the field. Adrenaline is a crazy thing, right? When all of a sudden you get that rush of adrenaline, and we have to make things happen. I mean, as I go back to the play here, I want you to notice how these players, their shoulders are low in their stance. I mean, it looks like we've got, 6 linebackers in the picture. It doesn't look like we're playing with D linemen other than their numbers. If they were all wearing the number 50 to 59, you would swear that we've got nothing but linebackers out here playing on the field because of the way they come after it. So if you look here, they're all down in these crouch stances, and they don't come off like it's the last couple plays of the game. They're coming off like it's early in the game, or like it's all on the line, right? So like you said, and what I love here is Cobra Kai. Like it's Cobra Kai all over the place. Keep your arms moving, keep your hands moving. You don't want those guys to grab you, because then you get guys leaning, big tackles leaning there, boom, throwing them off, using the arms, throwing them off, losing the arms, throwing them off, arms, keeping space. I mean, it's fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. And you'll see it again on the next play. So
this is 3rd down now?
Yeah, so now we're at 3rd down. So before, where I talked about usually guys will come in and they'll do straight bull rush. Just watch it. And I mean, talk about a motor. I mean, this guy, unbelievable.
I love this one. He just powers them over.
He is he's just another freak, right? I mean, just making things happen. So let's watch regular speed so we can appreciate again just how hard he's come. But I mean, the stance is great, low stance, and just, I'm coming right through you. Boom. I mean, that is awesome, man. Love it. Right? So, I mean, as a coach.
The Superman dive to cap it off. He not only bowls him over, and he dives to get to the quarterback. That's what I love about it. The want is so strong right there.
But there again, that 3E effort, right? Like, know what your assignment is, get to your assignment, complete the assignment, and then have that little extra effort, right? So it's, get to the spot, complete the assignment, and then what's that little extra thing that you do? Well, he definitely gets to the spot, right? I mean, he gets there, but I mean, he wants it. Like, he wants to be the guy that you count on. Like, I'm going to finish this game. So, I mean, he comes so hard and so fast. I mean, look at the leg drive. I mean, he's got to go through a right tackle. And like you said, not only puts him down, but now he feels it, right? I'm going to go right after him. I mean, that is just awesome. It is so awesome. But even if he doesn't get there, look what we have. I mean, this pocket is collapsing like no tomorrow, right?
Yeah, if it wasn't going to be Carlos, Jaron Reed was right there behind him too. So
yeah, and because of the bull rush tactic, so last time it wasn't a bull rush, right? Because we had stunts going. Typically, you're going to have one, if not two guys, but at least one guy who's going to be basically reading the hats and be a two-way position guy. So in other words, he's coming, this player right here, the right defensive tackle, he's just making sure that it's staying lateral while he's pushing up the field. So he's letting the other three make things happen. And yes, he's going against a guy who's kind of stalwarting him there, but his job is to stay lateral in case there's something that escapes. So the other guys are doing their job. I mean, it's fantastic all the way around.
Yeah.
Just fantastic.
Yeah, we went crazy during that play. That was awesome.
But now all of a sudden, now you get to a position where it's on the line, right? It's still fourth down. You know they're going to go for it. So what do, right? This is what drives me up the wall, Norb. Again, if I was doing it right, I'd be coaching the NFL. So I always say that, right? People say, oh, if you knew it all, you'd be coaching. But at the same time, I feel like I've coached long enough, and we've all watched this. Even someone who's barely watched football for a couple of years, all of a sudden we've just had 2 sacks, and we're playing man-to-man. And I get that now it's out at the 38-yard line, but we know what type of quarterback he is. So we're not going to go, we're not going to come all out with the cover zero, bring the house blitz, but we should be doing something and jamming, because we're always going to have 3 or 4 guys back. So I'd love to see the umbrella, but let's get into a couple of these guys' grill, pick their best 2, jam them, and then give our 4 guys some time to get there and make some things happen. Because we watch, here again, it's the last play of the game, or not last play of the game, the last play of the series. He's scrambling. And now, because he was able to get out of there, and because we didn't bring a 5th guy, right? Now there's lots of space, even though you can't see him back here. But look at all their receivers. They have every receiver in the end zone. So now it's a game of flyers up, and it doesn't matter where he throws it. When a quarterback's doing a Hail Mary from the 50-yard line, every receiver in the end zone, doesn't matter if they're on this sideline or if they're on this sideline, as long as the quarterback throws a nice high ball, they can all get to anywhere in the field, because that's how fast they are. And quarterbacks on Hail Marys are taught to throw it aiming point somewhere in here. If they throw the perfect Hail Mary, they're trying to get a couple yards into the end zone. All in Aaron Rodgers. Russ has done it a couple times, but I mean, that's where you're throwing it. And he is, though it's not a perfect spiral, he gets it to the spot. So let's see. We know that it's an incomplete pass, but so much time sitting there to get it. So Norb, any idea what I might have a problem with? And I'm going to let it run to see if you can have this kind of the fun part on there. So we do get to him there, right? But again, it doesn't matter at that point. Right. It does us no good. Because now we get it. We get the big rush on the outside. They keep a running back in, which they hadn't done before. So they're going to double team. Which they're
going to let Carlos Dunlap get him again. Yeah.
Yep. We're not going to do that.
But Mayo on the right side, our right side, almost got him. He just slipped through his fingers. I just wish we would bring it. 5. I like 5 against 5 or 5 against 6. Even if they have the running back in, I just feel like you just have an extra chance. Even if it's an Adams or a Wagner, anybody. And trust that your 6 back there against their 4, their 3. Because once it's up in the air, we've already seen it a couple times this year, right? It's who goes up to the highest point and catches the football. High point catch for the offensive player. High point catch for the offensive player. If that receiver had stayed 2 yards in the end zone, good chance he gets it. Right.
But here's the rub that I had, though. It's not so much the receiver. And again, this is the little thing, right? Hey, it's an incomplete. We're happy. We take a knee. Jamal Adams falls on the ground. Everybody's excited. You teach defensive players from early on, youth football. You bat the football down. You don't try to intercept a Hail Mary. You just don't. Never try to intercept a Hail Mary, because it's going to bounce. It's going to bounce up in the air, and multiple guys are trying to go high point. Let them go high point, and we saw it. Remember when we showed the one a couple weeks ago where the 2 guys went up, they batted it down, and Metcalf went up, kept his arms low. Well, here's the opposite. They go up, but look what happens to the ball, which you couldn't see from the sideline view. It wasn't until I got this end zone view, because of the ball seemed like it just disappeared in the end zone because it looks the same
Right.
color.
Yeah, it was hard to see. Yeah.
Hard to see. Well, now you'll see what happens. It bounced off his knee in the air.
So that was a live ball. Yeah.
That's a live ball till it hits the second time. Well, if that ball, if that hits the top of his knee, or maybe it hits his chest or his helmet, or something, that's why you bat the ball down, because that guy's right there and he catches it. It's touchdown, game over. It doesn't matter that we have all these guys around, right?
Right.
So that's just one of those, little things that it gets to me just as a coach, because I think it's one of those little things that at the NFL level, when you're working as hard as you work and you're at this point of the season and such, that you should know those things. And the fact that we faced the Hail Mary a couple times, again, love that we won. Could point out a ton of great things. And I think we've seen some, I love the new protection scheme that we did for Chase Young, because that tells me that anybody we face, a Donald, someone else down the road, we can come up with something unique for them. Love the fact that our defense did, the things that they were doing at the end of the game there, except for the final play where they got in the prevent. Love that we're getting some key players that are stepping up and making plays, and we've got an identity on defense. But I'm still going to look at it from let's thread the needle on attention to what we're doing and throwing it away. And let's thread the needle on defense, paying attention to what we're doing with the little things, and not give up a potential Hail Mary for the second time in 5 weeks.
Yeah. Well, I want to go back to, you don't have to play the playback, but I think the first one on the Carlos Hyde touchdown run,
Yeah.
you were talking about Hollister because he was the what do you call it, the back, the one that's coming back around. You had a term for it.
He's he's a wing back coming around the counter block.
The counter block. So not only does he do the counter block, but when you start seeing Carlos Hyde running down the sideline, the guy who's putting the most, I'm going to get down there. You watch Jacob Hollister. He is full sprint trying to get down to help out if any way possible when he's clearly, probably off to the races, but you see Hollister running just as fast, just to be safe, that you make sure nobody gets in there and gets get him by the foot.
Exactly. And in fact, there was one thing I didn't show you on that one, and that was the fact that let me get it here. So what you'll see here is you get just watch our linemen. Watch what our linemen do as they're coming down.
There's Hollister.
Right? There's Hollister. Hollister's here, but notice our center. We're getting some great second effort plays that are taking place, and I absolutely love it. Watch what our center does during the play. Okay, he does his job because it's supposed to look like that lead, and then he realized that our running back is 5 yards ahead of him. He can be done.
Yeah.
But instead, again, it doesn't matter that he didn't make a block. And what I love, he's the first guy down there to celebrate, right? He's the first guy down there celebrating a play that went 50 yards with our running back. That's the personality that I love to see. That's a Pete Carroll run team, right? That you get that energy. I used to tell our guys, hey, if you're a running back or receiver, first people you need to go celebrate with are those offensive linemen. But when you see the reverse happening, where offensive linemen are running 50 yards to try to potentially block someone, it's like the old, when Marshawn ran the Beast Quick.
Yeah, they had all the linemen down the field, Hasselbeck, everybody.
Yeah, exactly. Why? Because they loved Marshawn. They respected Marshawn. They loved what he brought to the team, his energy, his drive, what a leader he actually was in the locker room. When people thought he's just kind of crazy and all this other stuff, people loved him for all his stuff. We're seeing that here, right? We're seeing guys that want to play for each other. It's better than each other. And then to see Jamal at the end of this game, just how great he felt about it, and how, hey, I know you guys in Seattle love all this, but don't take it for granted. That's going to ring loud in the locker room. Let's not take this week for granted. Jamal doesn't know what it's like to win a division title, right? He doesn't know what it's like to go into the playoffs as a higher seed, have a home field, So it's exciting times, man. Very exciting.
Yeah. Hey, I want to ask a couple of questions just on plays that obviously there's so many to choose from, but we had arguably two of the best receivers on both sides going at it in this game. We had Terry McLaurin on Washington, and then you have, of course, DK Metcalf. And both were not targeted much. Now, in terms of Washington, with Haskins in there, not much of a surprise because of the style of what he's limited to what he can throw. But I'm curious, what did you see in terms of how both teams approach shutting down these very strong number one productive wide receivers? Did they do similar things to keep these guys quiet? Because one thing we never get to see from the TV copy is we can't see, once the receivers run out of the screen, we have no idea what's going on the back end. And so we can't figure out, why is he not getting the ball? So I'm just curious, from your going through all these plays, what did you notice that both teams were doing to try to keep each other's number ones quiet?
Well, and I think the key word there is quiet, right? Because they both had their fair share of catches. I think we become so accustomed to, we want DK to have 10 or 12 catches a game, and and they want their receivers and other receivers to have those catches. The key is, are we keeping them quiet and keeping them contained? And that's what was happening. They were running a lot of brackets with us with DK, where they would either jam him on the line of scrimmage, or once he released, they do an inside out where you'd have a corner that would stay. Yeah, they'd have a corner outside of him. So either, again, with the bracket, somebody's really tight, staying there, and then a safety would cheat over. So you'd start kind of in the middle and then cheat over on top. Like, hey, we're just not going to let you get this deep ball. And that's why Seattle was running a lot of the slants and crossings with them, which I loved.
Yes, that's why Lockett was getting a lot of action, right?
Yeah, exactly. When DK's, being shut down, it means Lockett and the other guys are going to come open. And for the second week in a row, we threw it to at least 7 receivers that had completions. But DK was also getting open. He had a couple of crossing routes that he caught on the drive for the touchdown, because again, we couldn't get it deep. Flip side, they were catching a lot of balls on those hitches and slants, but we were essentially doing the same thing. We were in that nice umbrella coverage that even if someone was going to run all the way across the field from right to left or left to right. And when I say across the field, I'm talking about receiver lining up in the slot and then ending up, in the left slot position, and then he ends up on the far right sideline somehow, 30 yards down the field. We had that covered. So we were saying all game long, we're going to give you the underneath stuff. Haskins, you can throw it 55 times underneath, and we're only going to give you 1 touchdown. Okay, and we're going to pick off the deep ball that you throw, because it's going to be an ugly ball that we can get to, deflect, and get the interception, right? So we're going to take away what you do best, and we've been waiting for a long time. I've been waiting all season for that to happen, and it's finally starting to brew itself the last few weeks. Pick and choose what you're going to take away, because you can't try to take away it all. And I think we were trying to do that earlier, trying to be the jack of all trades on defense. Hey, let's just get after them. And then when we don't, let's take away what we want to take away from them. And this week it was, let's take away the receivers, the deep plays, and force Haskins to beat us until they get bored, and make Rivera coach. And I said that I want him, put us in a position where Rivera has to coach offensive side of the ball at the end of the game. And that's exactly what happened. They messed up throwing deep. Couldn't stay patient. And again, they came back. But I think we just outplayed them. It just felt like we were in control. I liked it.
Yeah. Yeah, and arguably they should have scored more points in the beginning, have not for an untimely penalty that killed a first down drive that I think would have led that first score, would have been a touchdown instead of a field goal. The score was tighter than it should have been. But little things.
No doubt about it.
But you asked me during the game, or maybe it was you texted me at one point, and you asked me what I'd seen, or during this game, or if I'm looking at things differently, and I certainly was, because of the whole mechanics of what you'd broken down of the way Haskins throws. Knowing that he doesn't exactly have the most fundamentally sound throwing motion. I was looking for that and realizing, I was telling my dad, hey, why they're not throwing down the fields, because, he doesn't have the best throwing fundamentals. That's probably why they're doing all this short stuff. And then, of course, right after I said that, he goes long and gets intercepted. So it was fun to be able to see this, even for myself, learning from what you're breaking down here. It does
I heard you mention
itself.
at the end of the game, too. I heard you mention, and again, this isn't credit to me, but I heard you saying, this is what they do. Is they do the short passing game. And you're right? That's what you and I had discussed, that's what they do best, is the short pass game. That's why they had the 10-play drive. And then all of a sudden it came down to a Hail Mary deep ball. That's not their thing, and then earlier in the drive, they'd thrown a little deeper ball as well. But you called that out, because we had done a preview and had seen what they were doing, what they were good at and what they weren't good at. And again, they tried it. I mean, to me, I didn't realize he'd thrown it 55 times until after the game. It just didn't seem like he'd thrown that many. And I was like, holy cow, that's a lot of passes.
There was a lot of underneath stuff.
38 of them, right?
Yeah.
I mean, 38 of 55, that's really not that bad. But nothing to really show for it.
Yeah, and ultimately the number that wasn't high was the one on the scoreboard in terms of passing touchdowns.
Yeah.
So that just translates now to with this upcoming game. I know we're gonna move to the Rams on a different occasion, but I'm really looking forward to your breakdown of what it's going to look like when it comes to the Rams. Because they are also the short passing game kings, right? They love those little short passes, run after the catch, and all that kind of stuff. And I don't know, I didn't see a lot of the details of just the highlights of the Jets game and how they beat the Rams. But man, I don't know if you're planning to break that one down. But boy, it'd be fascinating to see what the Jets did to them, because obviously whatever the Jets did, clearly they won't repeat those mistakes, but it'd be kind of interesting to find out how they got to them because.
Oh yeah, I've already started watching it, man. It's interesting.
The Rams are a weird team, man, because they'll go the week before they just demolished the Patriots, right? They made them look like they didn't even have a chance. And they looked like, I watched that game, wow, they're the best team in the NFC. And then all of a sudden they come back, play the worst team in the NFL, and they just struggle in so many different areas. So I can't wait to break that one down, or have you break that one down, because that's so much more, and it's going to obviously play into this next game, which is really exciting. So
yeah. No doubt about it. Fun week, but I think what's key is that, you try to enjoy it, even though the players always say, we're already moved past it. I always think you give it a couple of days, right? They're looking at the film, but you got to enjoy it. So I think as fans, we enjoy it until we get to to hump day on Wednesday, and then all of a sudden it's okay, that's behind us. We got to look ahead, but I think we can still enjoy this win with the holidays coming up and stuff. So good week to have a fun week. It just should be a fun week all the way around on all levels, all fronts.
For sure. Well, let's get a couple more calls in here. We said we'd get some to wrap up the show. So let's do it. Let's go to, who do we got? Let's go to Colby. Colby, you're on with Coach Bill Marsh and NorbCam. How you doing?
Hello, guys.
Hey there, Colby.
What you got?
Yeah, how are you guys?
You got a question
How
for
you guys
Coach
doing?
Marsh? Well, we're doing great.
We're doing great, man.
Yeah.
Doing great.
You got a question on your mind?
Coach, would you be more confident in us with how our defense has been playing and our offense has been okay? Would you be more confident in us winning the number 1 seed or just winning the division?
Well, you always want to win you always want to have the number 1 seed. I mean, that always helps you. I think the key piece is obviously the matchups. Right. So the last couple of weeks, some of the matchups would have been rematches, depending on when if you're looking at it before the game or after the game, because we're getting ready to play the Giants, and then we beat the Giants, and then we would have been facing the Giants. And then before the Redskins, or I keep saying Redskins, got to get used to that. Before we played Washington, it could have been a matchup of us and Washington. So a lot of it is, where we're going to be, do we want to have Tampa Bay? And so it's tough to answer the question besides the wanting the number 1 seed. We all want the number 1 seed, because it gets you all the perks. But having to come back and who do we face? Who do you want? You're gonna have to go somebody good eventually, and you really want teams to go through us. So I just hope we're hot at the right time, and we're playing, doing the schemes, have our game plan down, and are ready to play. But I love winning the division. Don't get me wrong. Hanging banners is a great thing, and so if we can put another banner up in that stadium, it's awesome.
Yeah, and it's funny, we've been so used to not being at games this year, and then when you really start talking about playoffs and home field advantage, it's not so much, because we just talk about how there's no fans in the stands now. But then I start thinking, man, if we win the division, can you imagine if by some miracle Green Bay loses to Chicago, we win out and we get the number 1 seed somehow? All of a sudden it hit me that, oh my gosh, the playoffs are going to run through us, potentially a road to the Super Bowl, and we won't get to watch a single play of it. that part is heartbreaking when I think about that reality.
But I think there's still a mentality. There's just still a mentality when you're going to, you get to be at home. I mean, they're just, even though the 12s wouldn't be there, I mean, we'd be there in spirit, but there's just something about when I think as a player, when you can just say, we're the number 1 seed, or it runs, like you said, it runs through us. It has to run through Seattle, and all week long. And these guys that say that they don't pay attention to the press clippings and all this other stuff, yes, they do. So to all week long, if we get there, right? I mean, we still have to get through this week, but to be able to all week long be hearing the road goes through Seattle, the road goes through Seattle, I want to hear that. I mean, that's awesome, right?
For the team, yeah. I'm just selfishly as a fan. Selfishly as a fan.
But the players, I know the players want to hear that too. That's a mentality. It's a psychological piece that I'll guarantee you Jamal Adams does. He wants to go through Seattle, right? So
that's one guy that I'm sure they all love it, but him, he's not afraid to tell everybody in the press, I'm so happy to be here.
I don't want to go to -10 Lambeau Field. Don't want to do it.
Yeah. All right, let's go to another call. Thank you for the good question. Let's go to Dylan. Dylan, you're on with Coach Marsh and NorbCam. What's up? Dylan? No Dylan?
Can you hear me?
Oh, there's Dylan. Yep. You're on.
Hey, I'm nervous right now. It's my first time speaking to you guys.
Hey, don't be nervous. We're all friends here.
Man,
we're just talking football.
Just have fun.
Yeah.
There's no wrong questions, no bad questions. Just ask away, and You'll be through your first time in no time.
Yeah. Dylan, where are you from, man?
All right.
Where are you
I'm from Fresno.
Fresno. All right. So what you got? What's your question?
So do you think our defense can keep the same pace we did against the Rams?
Because, and again, I keep coming back to Jamal Adams. It's going to be a double negative, but he's not going to not allow us to keep from being what we need to be. His energy is, I love that he is an energy guy, an energizing guy. Just like when we had the Legion of Boom, right? Those guys were not going to allow us to lose games. They were going to keep us in games, the energy on the sideline, the way they played, from Bam Bam Cam and his big hits to Earl Thomas constantly talking to Richard Sherman, talking and making plays as a corner, all those players that we had. Well, same thing now. I mean, we finally have that guy that on the field is saying, look, I'm going to put these guys on my back, and I want you guys to follow me, and everybody wants to follow him. And even though Bobby Wagner, I think, is okay with making room. Like, hey, there's room for you here. Like, that's what our personality is. It's the culture that Pete Carroll has, that we make room for guys to come in. We make them a part of the family. We don't have the egos. A lot of other teams, Adams might go in there and guys will be like, whoa, hold on. Who's this? We just brought in another superstar, and I'm Bobby Wagner. Bobby's such a humble guy. Like, I love it. So, yeah, I think our defense is going to be just fine. Again, it's what we do. We get better at the right time. We get hot at the right time. It's not going to be easy, but I love the way things play out.
Yeah, for sure. Good question.
Norb, I know it's a lot of people ask questions about the playoffs, and I know you have the little playoff piece that you do. Hard to answer everybody's questions on what do we have to do to win the number one, number two, but there's some great things out there that, Norb, I know you've put on with regards to you can actually play it out yourself. So I don't know if you want to mention.
Oh, yeah, yeah. If you go to just search up ESPN Playoff Machine, and you can really cool. Basically just plug in what you think are going to be the results of each game, and it'll tell you what the seeds are at the end. So you can go, well, what if the Packers lose to the Titans but beat Chicago and Seattle wins out? You go, and it'll figure it out for you. Well, what happens if the Saints win one but lose this one? And it figures all the details out. It's amazing. It's I'm
pretty sure that next week, if I heard you correct, Norb, at the beginning of the show, and it probably cut out before you said it, but is next week Madden Marathon Monday, where you're going to play out all the final week's games and figure out who's going to be the final seeds?
That would be pretty cool. I
wish actually all the AFC and NFC games and play it all out.
I wish I could say that, but that next week's gonna be a little bit different week for me because we're doing a little traveling here. So I'm gonna be not in my usual situation for this upcoming game, actually. So I'm still trying to figure out exactly how I'm going to be watching this game. So hopefully,
you'll make it work.
I'll make it work. It's just going to be it'll be a little bit different from what we've been doing all season. So but yes, you can figure all these scenarios out. ESPN Playoff Machine. All right, let's go to another question. Let's go to BJ. BJ, you're on with Coach Marsh and NorbCam.
Hello.
Hey, BJ.
Hi. So I have a question for Coach Marsh. So if it comes down to Russell Wilson, the game's on the line, it's the playoffs. Are you confident that he can make the play and that, he's not broken anymore and, he doesn't, mess up, throw an interception and win the game essentially for us?
Yeah, so that's an awesome question. Because
in Russ, we trust. In Russ, do you trust? I think is basically what our young man is asking.
Yeah, and I mean, I love the question from a standpoint of I've had multiple conversations this week around the, who would you rather have in the final minute of a game between Rodgers, Mahomes, and Wilson, and those. And I love getting into those types of conversations because it means we have a guy, right? It's nice to say we have a guy that's in that conversation. Here's what I would pinpoint it down to on a little thing. When I saw Russ pump his fist the way he pumped his fist when he threw that touchdown pass that I broke down earlier, just the thread of the needle, and he threw it and he knew he got it, and it was like he's back. Like that was the first time I've really seen him, like not just like, hey, yeah, and they're doing all the stuff he does on mic'd up on the sideline, and you don't know, like, I mean, it's real and it's genuine, but it's not like that type of a deal, right? Well, all of a sudden he did it and pumped the fist hard. Like I wanted to see that out of him so bad because that's the competitor, that's the competitive side. That's not Russ, the guy who's doing, his YouTube show and the guy who's doing all these other things and, doing all this stuff on the sideline. I want to see the competitor in him come out. And it wouldn't surprise me if we start seeing him, run the ball and, dip a shoulder into somebody. Not that you want him to, anything to happen, but I love it when he plays that way because that's the way he was in college. That's the way he was in the early years. We just haven't seen that a whole lot this year. And a few weeks ago, I had said, I don't trust him that much. That Giants game, I just felt like he was not in a good spot. And I'm not talking personally. I'm just talking just the way he was playing as a player. Now, after seeing that, man, I got full trust in Russ that he's the guy, give him the rock, but let's go ahead and just be up 14 points and not worry about it.
Yeah. No, every great quarterback has a bad game. I mean, this year.
Yeah, absolutely.
Aaron Rodgers had a bad game. Tom Brady's had a couple stinkers. All the best quarterbacks has never had a perfect season. So Russell's no exception.
And what makes those guys great, and Russ in the group, they don't have slumps. And people might go, well, he had 3 games where he threw for 6 interceptions or what have you. I'm talking guys that have 5, 6, 7 game slumps. Brady, Rodgers, Breeze, Wilson, Mahomes, a game, maybe 2. And then they're right back to their superior form. That's why they're the best of the best in the world that do what they do. So I think Russ had his a few weeks back, and then now we're going on all cylinders in all 3 phases of the game. All 3 phases of the game. And that's what I love right now. We really don't have we don't have much weakness the way we're playing. Because people will look at the numbers and go, from around the country, oh, Russ only had 121 yards, and he's not playing that well. And I argue, go back to the Super Bowl. When he won the Super Bowl, it was not one of his best, not even in the top 20 games he played of his career. Yet we crushed him because of our defense, running game. Great high percentage passes. Russ, he threw for the touchdowns. Everybody was getting touches, lots of receivers. That's the Russ we need playing.
Yep, absolutely. Totally
awesome
agree.
Question.
We don't need those gaudy numbers. The only number that we want is the score on the board, and it doesn't even have to be that high if Seattle plays their brand of football. All right, great question. Let's go to another one here. This is RG Pack-A-Lot. Hey, RG Pack-A-Lot, you're on the air with Coach Marsh and NorbCam.
What's up, Norman? So I just had a quick question about our defense. The past 2 or 3 games, we came out strong, in the first half of our defense, giving up at the most 3 to 7 points, and then we have a decent third quarter, but in the fourth quarter, we just kind of let our foot off the gas pedal. We kind of give up a lot of yards, and, the heart attack starts happening again, and we press the panic button, but our defense always makes a play, but, it's always good to keep the consistency throughout the game. So, why do you think, Coach Marsh, we just take our foot off the gas and start giving up yards?
So I always look at it in relative terms from a standpoint of, your goal as a defense is to, not give up a bunch of points, right? So first and foremost, it's the points piece. So the fact that we gave up a grand total of, not even 14 points, but that, second half. So it's not like we're giving up 28 points, 35 points, where we're talking about a team that, barely gave up about 12 points, in that second half. And part of it was, Russ throws a poor interception, so it's a shorter field they have to work with, and then they're able to make one drive that works. So I don't really think that the defense is doing anything really wrong because again, we're doing that bend but don't break. We're still playing aggressive, and I keep giving that stat that Haskins had. If a guy throws it 38 times in a game or 55 times in a game, a team's gonna pile up yardage, but it's a desperate, teams don't throw 55 times because they're doing it out of being desperate, right? So when they had to start throwing it a lot, we did exactly what we needed to do. We gave them the underneath stuff, gave them the high percentage stuff, and said, prove to us you can beat us deep, and that you can throw it deep and do those other things. So we were okay. So I really don't hit the panic button like I was, if I was to hit a panic button a few weeks back when the yardage we were giving up was the wrong type of yardage because guys were getting wide open down the field. You could take the same amount of yards that Washington had and put that against, other teams that had the same amount of yards this year who scored way more points. Remember early in the season, we were winning games that we were giving up 30 points in. Now we're winning games that we're giving up only 15 points in. So you got to expect when you only give up 15 points in a game, you should win that game. So I'm not worried about panicking at all. And the teams we're facing we're facing a managing quarterback this week coming up. So same deal. We can't expect our offense to put up 30 points because of the defense we're playing. But I don't expect their offense to put up that. But we're going to let them we're going to let their quarterback manage the field, get his yards, get their running yards, and let's keep them to field goals and stall their drives.
Sounds like a good formula to me. All right, let's go to another question, this time from Archan.
Awesome questions. Awesome questions.
Yeah, great questions. Archan or Arcan? Here we go. You're on with NorbCam and Coach Marsh.
Hi.
Hi there.
Hello there.
So I had a question about the playoffs. So if you guys are to get the third seed, you most likely playing the Cardinals or the Rams. And then if you win that game, you're probably going to New Orleans. So what do you have to say about your playoff picture right now?
Yeah, so the team that does scare me are the Cardinals. I think they're a team that seems to have our number at times, and they do so many things different. And I do not like facing scrambling quarterback. I'll take going against a managing quarterback, every single day of the week. But when you get against these quarterbacks that can run around and scramble, that's I think why we've been so successful over the years is because of the quarterback we have. So when we have to face a quarterback like that, where and an offensive coordinator like they have, that can be really, really difficult. And then you go down, if you have to go down and face, Breeze and company, that guy's just dangerous. He's just dangerous with what he does. So, if we had to face the Rams a third time, it's kind of a toss up. I don't think it really matters where we play. I think that would be tight either way. But the Cardinals are a team that, of all the teams I've said, other than traveling to Green Bay, Cardinals are the team that I'm most concerned about because I just don't know exactly how they play, and they really spread the field out. And they got a guy by the name of Larry Fitzgerald that I argue is one of the top 10 players of all time, underrated, even though he's the Hall of Famer and everything else.
DeAndre Hopkins still making amazing catches too. So
they got Hopkins. They got all sorts of great players, but that Larry, what he does, he just always seems to be a playoff guy. I mean, I remember when he had that run back when they went to the Super Bowl, and it seemed like every time he was touching the ball was a score. And now they have Hopkins taking guys away from him. So they're kind of like us, right? Like who do you stop? So if we get to that point, and I know we're looking a few weeks down the road based on the question, but we do what we have to do. It helps that we beat them. We beat them, and then we also, we really played them tight in a game that we probably should have won if we would have, should have, could have. So it's not like they manhandled us in any way.
Yeah. No, and I think that's the thing about the playoffs is we all kind of think, who we'd rather play, this or that, and really ultimately, if you are going to be the best and make it to the top, you're going to have to beat these good teams. There's no getting around. Yeah. We've got skirt around these guys. It's like you're going to just have to. If it's going to be the Packers, well, it's going to be the Packers. If it's going to be the Saints, we're going to just have to deal with them, or Tom Brady and the Bucks, or a rematch with the Cardinals or the Rams. I mean, no matter what, all these teams sound kind of scary, right? I mean, they all sound like, ooh, could be trouble.
Well, each time I did the playoff predictor, I've done it a few times just to kind of play around with it, and I have yet to see the Jets show up on the AFC side, right? I'm thinking maybe they'd be in there, or maybe they show up on ours. So yeah, you're right. I'm being facetious, but you're not going to have weak teams. Teams that make it to the playoffs, there's a reason they make it to the playoffs. Even whoever comes out of the NFC East, right? They've already shown us, one team beat us and one team we barely beat.
We could face Washington again. So you never know. It was a funny comment. Joseph V says, "Is he in an airplane?" There's a lot of sound in that last call. I was thinking the same thing.
Hey, he might have been. Great stuff, though, man. I love that you guys are calling, doing your thing.
Not a jet though. It has to be a biplane, like the Snoopy Red Baron type with the propeller. I mean, it's definitely that kind of plane.
Hey, don't be afraid to call just because you hear that. Because I mean, 4 weeks ago it sounded like I was in a Cessna, and now Norb has me at least sound like I'm in some sort of 747. So I'm trying to get up to better and better as we go. So we all have our thing. Just love the fact that you guys are calling, asking questions. So it's great stuff.
Yeah, we worked out the bugs because we had a lot more issues before. It's actually relatively smooth ever since we got through our initial problems. But
don't jinx us.
Oh yeah, no, it's going to go down the toilet now. Let's see. Okay, one more here, or there's actually a few more, but we haven't heard from. This is Tiny Titan DJ Reed. Man, Tiny Titan DJ Reed. Cam H. So I'm not sure what name we're going by, but who is this that we're talking to?
It's Cameron.
Cameron, not Cameron Hughes. Cameron Hughes. Oh, okay. Well,
yeah,
I would have figured out by your interesting title there. Cameron Hughes, no stranger to the show, man. What you got?
Cameron, you calling from a river raft or last one on a plane? No, I'm joking. No. I was just basing on.
It sounds good. You sound nice and clean.
You sound great. You sound clean.
Yeah. What's your question, man?
Go ahead, Cameron.
So do you think the like Pete Carroll going back to running the ball and establishing these long drives helps, like, benefits the defense, so like they don't get tired after like these 2-minute drives by the offense?
Yeah, I don't really buy into some of the stuff that the guys say all the time on TV. And again, I have the luxury of having coached and having, worked with guys at all the different levels and talk to guys and, that coach at the different levels. Not that I haven't coached at the NFL level, but having, talked to guys that work there, and they'll say the same thing, that the kind of this concept of, defense being on the field too much and getting tired. Yes, of course, if it's really lopsided, and it's not so much time of possession, it's number of plays. Time of possession to me is one of the most overrated things in football when people look at that stat. It's the number of plays that guys have to be on. So yes, if they're on the field, if the defense is on the field for a 12-play drive and we go 3 and out and then it's another 12-play drive, yeah, absolutely, that's going to get to them. But rare is that the case, right? A lot of times it's a 6 to 8-play drive or a couple 3 and outs. And these guys are in the best shape of their lives. And at this point of the season, guys are dinged up and they're tired, but they're physically in their lungs. They're in great shape. And again, we saw it in the final play of that game. They were on a 10-play drive, and look what our front four did, 2 plays in a row, right? Sack. And we probably could have sacked again if we had done the same type of deal. So, I think it comes down to the motivation, the momentum, the adrenaline, the guys are carrying you. And again, I love the fact that our inside out and front to back guys are the Bobby Wagners, the Adams, those guys. They won't let us get tired. So yes, Pete Carroll is running the ball, but that's been a staple for him as long as he's been coaching. And that's kind of the old school way to win games, right? Like, run the ball, defense wins championships. He's one of the few guys left that still believes that, versus, most of football has gone to the offense, air raid, spread football, all those things win the championships. But there's still a few of those old timers left that believe defense wins championships, run the football, have your quarterback manage, and that's what you do. So yes, to answer your question, he is doing it, but I don't think it's just to rest his defense. It's his philosophy.
Cameron's got another question. I was just going to make a point of mentioning that I think it's the first time anyone's ever said that the time of possession is an overrated stat, and I'm glad you brought that up. I've never thought about it, but you're right. Because if you have a team that, like the Seahawks, that runs the ball and every time the play clock gets down to 2, well, the defense is standing there waiting as well, which drives me nuts sometimes. I want them to push it and get them back on their feet quicker. But yeah, you're right. If it's not the years, it's the mileage kind of saying, right? Because like you said, in 5 minutes you could run 10 plays or 20 plays. Yeah. You're going to go more time running those 20 plays, right?
And I brought that up as an argument point when people talk about this, about time of possession, when I've talked about with them, because if it was true that the defense did get tired, then wouldn't we run plays quicker instead of letting the play run down to 30 seconds, letting it run down to 1 second, back to back plays? Pete Carroll would know, hey, defenses get tired afterwards, so we need to, let's run plays and run plays and run plays. Because the flip side of that is, wouldn't that make the offense tired? And that's what I've always said that to people. Well, if the defense is tired, all those plays, wouldn't the offensive players be just as tired, especially the offensive linemen, the biggest group on the field? Wouldn't those 5 guys be like, Coach, this is the 10th play of the drive, and defense went 3 and out. They stopped. Can the defense be on the field a little bit longer?
True. Nobody brings that up.
Nobody ever brings it up, man. Nobody ever brings it up.
But I think there's this assumption that if you're the ones who know the play, that somehow you're immune from being tired. And then when you don't know the play is, somehow you're immediately tired because you're reacting as opposed to doing it. But you're right. You're still running. You're still pushing. You're still going toe-to-toe against the 300-pound guy in front of you. So, yeah, you're right. There is that whole, maybe the offense
it's like the kid in basketball.
He's
driving nuts watching basketball games. Guys dogging it on defense or whatever. And then all of a sudden they hit a 3-pointer. And now all of a sudden they're in their big defense. And I'm talking all levels of the game. Get down their defensive stance too. Same thing in football. guy's dogging it, not blocking very hard, and then he makes a big catch, and now all of a sudden he's Mr. Blocking guy. Or guy on defense isn't playing very well, but he gets a sack, and now he's revved up for a few plays, right? So it's all relative. But yeah, time and possession, when they highlight that one, to me, it's just kind of a in and out of the year type of deal.
I'm going to be looking for plays, number of plays, not number of minutes. That's a very great point.
That's why you come to the coach's corner. I mean, that was way up in the corner, but it's a coach's corner piece that people don't think about. Like,
yeah, it's true. You never know what you're going to learn from this show. Cameron, you had another question?
Yeah, this doesn't really have to do with the Seahawks or anything, but like, let's say you have a Hall of Fame left tackle and you draft a left-handed quarterback. Do you find like a really good right tackle to protect his blind side, or flip your left tackle to right tackle?
Man, that's a hardcore football question, man. I love that question.
Especially since you're talking to Coach Marsh, who's a left-handed guy,
left-handed quarterback.
Yeah. So perfect guy to answer that question.
I'm a left-handed quarterback, and my mentor was a left-handed quarterback who went all the way to the NFL and was drafted by the Seahawks. Coach Smith, Sherman Smith, who was he was 30-0-1 as a quarterback and drafted as a wide receiver and ended up playing running back for the Seahawks.
Jim Zorn was a left-handed quarterback
Jim Zorn was there. That's why I wore number 10. So as a lefty, to answer your question, so let's say Walter Jones, who is, Hall of Fame guy, left tackle. Get a left-handed quarterback. Typically, your offensive linemen know all 5 positions. We hear it all the time. Like someone gets bounced around, has to move to different spots. You're usually going to take that left tackle with Walter Jones and move him over to make him learn the right side and have him there, and then have a solid, backup there, versus getting someone who's, going after someone who's a great right tackle and then trying to get a left tackle, because you're not going to be able to afford those 2 positions in this day and age. And again, you want someone that can kick, slide, and move and do all those things. So if I'm a left-handed quarterback and someone says, hey, we're going to still keep Walter Jones up here, I'm going to say, well, that's my front side. And the reason why you're protecting the backside is because, for obvious reasons. If I'm a lefty dropping back and Walter Jones is to my left, I can already see over there. So my eyes pick up the 6th person. So really it's lineman are picking up if there's 5 guys. If there's an extra edge rusher coming, I can see that here. I can't see it. I can't see it to my backside. So I'd rather say, hey, I want Walter Jones on my backside because he's smart enough to know which guy to pick up, or if they're stunting or what have you. I want a guy I can trust back there. Give me the young buck over here or a more inexperienced guy here, because at least I can see when a mistake takes place the moment it happens and throw the ball. I can't always see to my backside. So that's, the stronger philosophy there is to take your best player as the tackle and mirror it to the other side, even though guys might play their whole career at that left tackle position, just because it's so common.
Yeah, that was a great question.
And there was actually a 2-year period where there were no left-handed quarterbacks in the NFL. And it was kind of there's a great show about the art or what happened to all the left-handed quarterbacks. I can't remember the title of it, but basically that's essentially what happened to all the lefty quarterbacks. Once Mark Brunell left and some others, I think there's 1 or 2, and we talked about this a while back, but
Mike Vick was a lefty.
Lefties throw, and I'm not saying it because I'm left-handed. Left-handed people throw, love how they throw the football. There's just a different spiral that comes off of it. But now receivers that say that it's tough to catch, they're actually right about it, because the ball drops differently from a lefty than it does from a right.
So
just like when you watch your right hand.
If you've been catching passes from a right-handed thrower and so when you switch to a left, there would be a very subtle difference, right?
Yeah. Well, because the spiral's going different, and it's not just because of the spiral, because that's going to come in kind of the same. It's how the ball drops. If you watch left-handed quarterbacks and the way they release it, typically the ball kind of goes up and then it kind of veers and then it really drops down. Right-handed quarterbacks are more tall and they drop it more straight. Russ actually throws it more like a lefty would when he's throwing his deep ball, that kind of high looping ball. But you watch, the Boomer Esiason to Mike Vick, Jim Zorn, current lefties, Brunell, all kind of throw that different way. But it's also why they all, we all write kind of crooked. When we had to get those desks in elementary school, they gave us everybody had the right-handed desk, so we had to cross over.
Because you got smear over your writing there.
Yeah. Great hardcore question there on that one, Cameron.
So a quick super chat from Ban Ned says, predictable Pete equals a loss. No deep analysis needed. Well, we'll see about that.
So again, my argument is 10 years, second winningest team in the NFL, not just winning a second winningest coach, but second, number 2 to, a certain team over in the Northeast. So people will say, I'll take second of all time predictable, 8 playoffs in 9 years. if that's predictable, you have to love defense. And I love the defensive side of the ball as much as I love offense, as much as I love special teams. So sometimes for us, it's like, well, if our offense isn't exciting, get rid of the head coach, get rid of others. Man, there's a lot of teams out there that have exciting offenses that are going to win 5 games this year. They're exciting to watch.
Yeah, that's right. All right.
And everybody can't be Kansas City, right? Kansas City, we'd all love to watch Kansas City.
Yeah, they're good and they're exciting. That's going to be a tough one no matter what. All right, we got time for one more question here. So let's go to Calderon. Calderon, you're on with Coach Marsh and NorbCam. Calderon, are you there? Hello? No Calderon? Oh, well, I guess Calderon. Oh, there he goes. Yeah. Calderon, can you hear us?
So my parents are calling me, so I just need to ask a quick question.
Oh, go for it. Okay. Yeah. Yep, what's the question?
Playing against an offensive team in the playoffs, would that be a real test for the Seahawks defense?
It cut out a little bit. Did he ask playing against a good offensive team?
I think that's what he was asking.
Yeah. Again, like we talked about earlier, every team we face, once you get to the playoffs, most teams are pretty solid on both sides of the ball and in their, and in their special teams. So we're going to be tested early on. I mean, you start thinking about all the teams that are in there, really all of them, but maybe Washington, if they make it, are going to be pretty solid on offense. So I think will be tested. Yeah, but we've gone up against, Arizona. We're going up against some of the other teams. I think we'll be just fine with what we're doing because of the scheme that we're running. I love that we're playing aggressive. If we were just a sit back and play zone, which we used to be for a long time, but we had the athletes that could do that. Now we've kind of discovered what we need to do with our new athletes, and so with Dunlap and with Adams, we're a different team. We can't be the Legion of Boom. We can't play it that way. So as long as we're playing aggressive, I think we're going to be able to hold our own. We're going to give up plays, but we're probably going to return back to the 35-28 type of games instead of the 20-15 type of games.
Yep. No, great question. Great question. All right. So I think with that, we got through all the calls, which is amazing. I never usually do.
Awesome.
So good questions tonight. So with that, I guess we will wrap up this episode of Coach's Corner, breaking down the Washington football team. We are going to be doing our show tomorrow night, the Roundtable, which Coach Marsh will be there. I assume you'll be there, Coach Marsh, for the Roundtable.
Yeah, planning to be there.
All right. So it's going to be fun. We will be, talking a little bit more about this Washington game from the other guys' perspective, and then looking ahead at the Los Angeles Rams, who will we be playing for the NFC West Division title. Man, it doesn't get any more exciting than this. Well, I just want to give Coach Marsh this opportunity. I want to say thank you again for doing this. You bring such great insight to the show, and it's amazing. I learned so much. I'm sure all of the viewers learn a ton from what you bring to the table. So I'm grateful for your presence here. And is there anything you wanted to wrap up from your side as far as what you want the viewers to know?
Well, one of my biggest mantras as I would talk to people for years was, we, us, are is always bigger than me, my, I. We, us, are is always bigger than me, my, I. And I think that's a true testament to what Norb's doing and what we're trying to do here, right? I mean, I know he thanks me for coming on these shows, but I really feel like that this Coach's Corner has become a we, us, are thing. And I'm really enjoying doing this with you, Norb, and the fact that we've been able to collaborate on this and on the other show with the preview now and some of those things. But it's also, a piece of, I want people to move into, with their life. And they talk about with Josh Gordon and some of the stuff he might be going through. And as we look at others that, it's we, us, are is always going to be bigger than me, my, I. And now my kind of new one heading into 2021 is living life one play at a time. So, let's make sure we just continue to do both those. And I love doing the stuff with you, Norb, but, with your family, friends, whatever, we, us, are always going to be bigger than me, my, I. And let's just live life one play at a time. And go Hawks.
One play at a time. Go Hawks. I love it. Van Ned with a final super chat says, cognitive dissonance. Pete is not the stat you are looking for. All right, Van Ned. All right. Well, we will see. The game is on Sunday. I will find some way to react to it. It will not be in the current environment. So it'll be very different looking, but I'm going to find some way to watch the game on Sunday. But until then, watch for the Roundtable show again tomorrow at 5 o'clock.
And thanks for the great open, Norb. Love the new open, man.
Oh,
thanks
I'm glad you like it. I love it too. I haven't even watched it enough to be, to even know it that
to
well
appreciate
yet.
it. Yeah, love it, man.
It's fun. I love it. Yeah, for sure. All right. Thanks, guys. Again, I would love it if you guys would smash the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and then join the Discord. That's also in the description. That way you'll have a chance to talk to me just like a lot of the people did today during the show. And if you want even more access, think about joining on some level with the NORBFAM membership. All the information is there in the description. And when I wrap this video up, you'll see some of the names of the people who are on the NORBFAM, and it's a pretty cool place to be. So, thanks everybody. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to everybody.
It's early because we're going to be on our show tomorrow, but in case we don't catch you tomorrow, yes, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and Coach Marsh, I will see you tomorrow on the Roundtable.
Sounds good.
All right. Thanks everybody. Enjoy your week. Happy holidays, and of course, go Hawks.
Go Hawks.